Chapter 2800. Who are you people? Blackwater finally couldn't stand this oppressive feeling. Why are you poking your nose into other people's business? Mu Baichen didn't even look at Blackwater as he lightly said to Su Yun, I've lived for half my life and I've never seen anyone call themselves a fucking rat. Kid, tell me, where did this grandson come from and how did he provoke you? He's called Blackwater. He's notorious in the underground world. Su Yun said. Just him? Is he worthy of being notorious? Ha ha ha, you're flattering him too much. Mu Baichen said, It's not that I want to criticize him, but he's at most a stinking bug. If you're talking about the Blood Wolf gang, then they're worthy of being notorious. Wen Xiaoping didn't dare to interrupt. This Mu Baichen's aura was too strong. Even their Xing Peng Jing wouldn't be his match. The previously arrogant 7 absolutes all calmed down. No one dared to be the first bird to stick their neck out. If Blackwater could be used as a spearhead, why wouldn't they be happy to do it? At this time, the 7 absolutes all obeyed Wen Xiaoping's orders. This was their tradition. They obeyed in adversity and flaunted in prosperity. Just this stinking bug, why did he provoke you? Mu Baichen said, This guy hasn't done much in the country. He shouldn't be someone from Huaxia. This is all because of a dispute between the 7-star brilliance 7 great families. Su Yun said, Kid, you really grew up drinking the water of the Pacific Ocean. You're quite a busybody. Mu Baichen said. He was really curious. How did Su Yun get into such a big mess? It was hard to imagine. How did the dispute between the 7 great families affect you? What did you do? Su Yun was also quite helpless. He turned his head to look at Zhang Hong and Zhang Zishue. They're from the Zhang family. Su Yun said, Zhang Hong is Jin Gui's old man's disciple and is my friend. And Zhang Zishue is someone the Empress entrusted to me. Mu Baichen pursed his lips. Brat, I said you had the ability, and you really do have the ability. He dares to take on anyone's job. Old Master Jin is an old friend of my godfather and my master, Su Yun said. I will definitely stand up. Wait a moment. Mu Baichen said, Don't think that I don't know that the Zhang family has always relied on Zhang Jing's eldest daughter. As for this son named Zhang Hong, I've never heard of him. Zhang Hong didn't say anything. He was indeed a person without any status. It's a long story, Su Yun said. Mu Baichen nodded. Even if you don't say it, I can understand. It must be the Zhang family's bloodline, and it must be someone who is loyal and affectionate. Otherwise, only a fool would step forward in this kind of situation. It's worth it for you to befriend such a person. If you need help, you should help. Having obtained Mu Baichen's affirmation, Su Yun felt much more relaxed. But this matter was obviously cut into later. Mu Baichen's gaze landed on Zhang Zishue. The cause is still the Empress. How could Zhuo Langyue throw the blame on you? Su Yun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This was an even longer story. Because Zhuo Langyue is his stepmother. Of course, he has to take care of his stepmother's matters, Bai Xiaoye said. Mu Baichen only noticed Bai Xiaoye after hearing her voice. It didn't matter when he looked at her, but he was shocked. Bai Xiaoye's expression was very similar to Su Yun's, and her temperament was almost exactly the same as Zhuo Langyue's. Could it be? Mu Baichen suddenly realized. It was said that Su Chan and Zhuo Langyue had an affair back then. He didn't expect this affair to bear fruit. It wasn't hard to explain why this girl said that Zhuo Langyue was Su Yun's stepmother. Girl, is Su Yun your biological brother? Mu Baichen asked. Bai Xiaoye nodded. That's right. Then what's your name? Bai Xiaoye. Mu Baichen shook his head. How can you randomly change your surname? Since it's not Zhuo, it should be Su. Su Xiaoye. That's a nice name. Bai Xiaoye quickly shook her head. What Su Xiaoye, Zhuo Xiaoye, they didn't sound nice at all. Her surname was Bai. This was because she had no impression of her parents in her entire life. If she hadn't met Su Yun, she probably wouldn't have known that her master was her mother, and her mother was her master. She dared to conclude that if it weren't for Su Yun, her mother would definitely not have acknowledged her identity. Thus, Bai Xiaoye felt that her surname was quite good. Girl, don't worry. You're Su Yun's sister, so you're my niece. Mu Baichen said, if they dare to bully you, I'll make sure they don't even know how they died. Bai Xiaoye was stunned. This Mu Baichen's mentality was quite young, to be able to play with young people like them. Uncle, I'm relieved to hear your words. Bai Xiaoye said, they were so aggressive just now, it really scared me. Especially these two guys. As she spoke, Bai Xiaoye directly pointed the spearhead at Yi Hui and Ling Qing. Just now, the two of them had suddenly attacked. If it weren't for Jie Su, who knew how many people would have been injured. Because of this, Jie Su was heavily injured. Because of this, Bai Xiaoye would definitely not let Yi Hui and Ling Qing off easily. The two of them. Mu Baichen's brows flashed with anger. I'll make sure they die now. Since he had already said that, the 7 absolutes naturally wouldn't wait for death. Defend. Meng Duan ordered. Everyone was prepared to defend. They knew very well that these people were not to be trifled with. Blackwater wanted to blend in with them, but their defense system wouldn't give him any chance. Even Wen Xiaoping could only make his own preparations. The 7 absolutes had the cooperation of the 7 absolutes. This was something that outsiders couldn't participate in. Actually, the Blood Wolf troop is just so. They're all cowards. Mu Baichen said disapprovingly, just one sentence and they're already so scared. If I knew, I wouldn't even have come. Hearing that the Blood Wolf troop was being humiliated, Wen Xiaoping couldn't continue to ignore it. What the Blood Wolf troop is like, it's not for others to say. Wen Xiaoping said, I have no right to ask who you are, but why are you interfering with our Blood Wolf troop's matters? Mu Baichen glanced at Wen Xiaoping, completely ignoring him. Wen Xiaoping continued, if it's because of the matter between us and Dongqing Laojiu, then he asked for it. It's fine if you don't say it, but since you've said it, then explain it to me. Mu Baichen said, why do you want to kill Laojiu? His mouth is immoral. Wen Xiaoping said, humiliating the things our ancestors left behind, we naturally can't ignore it. Then kill. Mu Baichen said, what do you think the world is? Do you know what kind of society it is now? A socialist society. Do you think this is a fucking feudal dynasty? You can king kill whoever you want to. Bullshit. Then I'll tell you, if I thought this was a feudal dynasty, I wouldn't be talking nonsense with you. These words scolded Wen Xiaoping until he didn't have any temper. You dare to provoke the people I admire, even if I want to kill you, I don't need to give you a reason. Mu Baichen said, but this isn't a feudal dynasty. Even if I want to kill you, I need to give you a reason. The reason is because your Blood Wolf troop doesn't tuck your tail between your legs. How many years has it been since someone dared to scold the Blood Wolf troop like this? But now, with Mu Baichen acting so unscrupulously, the Blood Wolf troop didn't make a move. Including Wen Xiaoping. They were very clear that as long as they made a move, the people around them who were ready to attack would come out in a line. Right now, they were trapped beasts, not wild beasts. Unless they had no other choice, they wouldn't make a final struggle. This was fate's arrangement, they had nothing to say. Chapter 2801. What do you mean by this daddy is number 1 under the heavens? This daddy is number 1 under the heavens. Although Mu Baichen's strength was definitely not number 1 under the heavens, but his aura was definitely number 1 under the heavens. To be able to intimidate Wen Xiaoping and 7 absolutes by himself, this was not something an ordinary person could do. Your father will say these words today. Mu Baichen said, none of you will be able to leave this place alive. Wen Xiaoping's eyes were red. That will depend on whether or not you have the strength to control the Blood Wolf regiment. I think you still don't know what it means to tuck your tail between your legs. Mu Baichen said, Daddy hasn't caused trouble for your Blood Wolf regiment, not because I'm afraid of you, but because I feel that your Blood Wolf regiment has become like obedient pugs these past few years. Daddy doesn't want to make things difficult for a pug. But if a pug like you wants to bite someone, Daddy won't sit by and do nothing. Not to mention you really did bite someone to death. Comparing the Blood Wolf Regiment to a pug, in this world, only Mu Bai-chen would dare do such a thing. Wan Xiaoping's fists were already trembling. There were some things he could endure, and some things he couldn't. He could endure the humiliation of himself, but he couldn't endure the humiliation of the Blood Wolf Regiment. He knew he was already terrified enough. Blackwater wanted to escape, but this place was not something he could handle with his strength. However, the looming pressure around him made it impossible for him to find a way to escape. Now, he could only wait for the battle to break out. As long as the two sides fought, he could find a chance to escape. Then all the problems would be solved. Blackwater, what are you thinking? Su Yun saw through Blackwater's thoughts. Do you think you can come and go as you please today? Blackwater frowned. Being seen through by Su Yun, he had no face left. But his mouth still hardened. What kind of person do you think I am? I, Blackwater, may not be a hero, but I'm not the kind of person who is afraid of death. If scum like you weren't a coward, you would have gone to see the King of Hell long ago. Mu Bai-chen bluntly said to Blackwater, I've seen so many people in my life, and the one I despise the most is people like you. Blackwater wanted to be stubborn, but considering Mu Bai-chen's strength, he did not dare to open his mouth. Coward, you even have to hesitate to talk back. Mu Bai-chen shook his head in disdain and said to Su Yun, I'll leave this grandson to you. If you can't even deal with this kind of weakling, then you're not a man of the Dragon Brigade. Su Yun coldly looked at Blackwater and said to Mu Bai-chen, Uncle Mu, don't worry. Even if you want to interfere with this person, I won't agree. Su Yun had to deal with Blackwater himself. When Blackwater heard this, he was delighted. He was confident that his strength was above Su Yun. As long as Su Yun dared to challenge him, he would have a chance. It could even be said that as long as he controlled Su Yun, he would have a chance to survive. As for the Blood Wolf Regiment, let them be. This trouble was not caused by the Blood Wolf Regiment, it was caused by the Blood Wolf Regiment. They could not blame him for being unrighteous. If this matter was not handled well, he would have to ask Xing Pengjing for a refund. 1 billion. Not only did he not solve the problem for himself, he even brought trouble to himself after arriving at Guqin Island. Blackwater did not know that Xing Pengjing was not having a good time either. Although he had 9 Qilin and 5 madness by his side, being chased by Wan Guangxiao was not a fun thing to do. Su Yun, if you're a man, then keep your word and fight me one-on-one. Blackwater said, don't borrow their strength. I'm not like you. I always keep my word. Su Yun said. Mu Bai-chen had confidence in Su Yun. He looked at Blackwater in disdain and said, Who do you think you are? Su Yun against you, I don't want to lend him to others. He can destroy you himself. Don't King flatter yourself, you shameless thing. No matter how ugly Mu Bai-chen's words were, Blackwater did not say a word. He was happy in his heart. He did not care. The more Mu Bai-chen looked down on him, the better. The more he felt that Su Yun could solve the problem by himself, the better it was for him. When the time came, as long as he seized the chance to control Su Yun, he would like to see how Mu Bai-chen would plead with him. A man knows when to yield and when not. When it was time to be patient, he had to be patient. That was what Blackwater thought. Brother, we don't need to be so particular with him. Blackwater is not a good person, Lin Gu said. That time, he came to pull the plug on Brother Jie's medical equipment and almost killed Brother Jie. He did not talk about morality at that time. How could he lay his hands on someone who was so weak that he couldn't even truss up a chicken? Why do we need to talk about morality with him? Brat, you don't understand. Without Su Yun saying anything, Mu Bai-chen helped him educate Lin Gu. This is the difference between us and them. Lin Gu was stunned. He did not understand what the difference was. We are humans, so we need to talk about morality. Mu Bai-chen said, they are less than shit, so we don't need to talk about morality. Lin Gu was a little shocked. That was it. We don't need to talk about morality with them. Mu Bai-chen said, but sometimes, we want to teach them how to be human, so we need to talk about morality. Lin Gu nodded as if he understood. I understand. I want my brother to teach him how to be human. He can't be human, but we still need to teach him this. Mu Baichen smiled. Don't worry. With just him, he is not your brother's match. Lin Gu smiled, but Mu Baichen didn't know if he really understood it or not. Blackwater took a deep breath. Don't make it sound so nice. If you dare to fight one-on-one, then fight one-on-one. If you don't change your mind, then we'll count it as morality. Do you think you're worthy? Su Yun narrowed his eyes. Now that he was facing Blackwater alone, he really did not feel any pressure. Whether I'm worthy or not is not up to you, Blackwater said. It's up to the fist. Mu Baichen saw Blackwater being so arrogant and whistled. He shouted into the air, Come out. Finish this quickly for your father. Let's call it a day. I have already given our leader Wan a military order. I will finish this group of bastards before him. 9 figures quickly appeared from the shadows. Wan Xiaoping and the 7 absolutes of the Blood Wolf group quickly formed a circle. But they still could not escape the fate of being surrounded. Mu Baichen did not have any intention of making a move. It was as if these people's level was not enough for him to make a move. With him standing in front of Su Yun's people, it was simply the strongest protection. One man holding back 10,000, this was the sense of security that Mu Baichen could give them. With Mu Baichen here, Su Yun did not have any worries. This was very important to Su Yun. Mu Baichen had confidence in Su Yun because of this. Because of him, Su Yun did not have any worries and could go all out without fear. But Blackwater was different. He was definitely worried that the Blood Wolf group would not be able to solve the problem for him. Only by holding on for a while could he find a chance to escape. Thus, Blackwater would be distracted. This way, Su Yun would have the advantage. When experts exchanged blows, the most important thing was to have a psychological advantage. Su Yun and Blackwater's strength were about the same. Although Su Yun was slightly weaker, he had the psychological advantage. Thus, Mu Baichen had confidence in him. Chapter 2802. The impending confrontation made everyone hold their breaths. Blackwater's fist was like a bolt of lightning striking towards Su Yun. However, Su Yun did not show any signs of weakness as he met Blackwater's fist with a palm strike. The palm strike was so fierce that it made Blackwater's eyes ache. However, he was not allowed to close his eyes while exchanging blows. In an instant, fists and palms were everywhere. The entire courtyard was filled with flying sand and stones. The scene seemed to have turned chaotic. The two of them were completely unarmed. They were fighting with their fists and legs. After more than 10 moves, Su Yun suddenly made a move. He had already seen through Blackwater's weakness. Although Blackwater's strength was strong, his lower body was his weakness. In terms of fist skills, Blackwater was indeed better than Su Yun. However, in terms of leg skills, Su Yun was far ahead of him. Su Yun's Tan Tue was a basic skill. This was the foundation of Wang Yi's foothold. He had imparted all of it to Su Yun, who didn't know that Wang Yi was the king of legs in the Dragon Brigade. If they were to compare leg skills, even Wan Guangxiao would not be able to win against Wang Yi so easily. Su Yun was trained by Wang Yi since he was young. Therefore, his leg skills were definitely not weaker than his fists and legs. Martial arts practitioners all knew that Tan Tue had 4 hands. Humans were afraid of ghosts. Tan Tue's movements were agile. Unlike Ba Gua Tai Chi, Tan Tue's explosive power was extremely strong and swift. The target of Tan Tue's attack was the area below the knees. If the opponent's lower body skills were stable, the power of Tan Tue might not be that obvious. Martial arts practitioners all knew the importance of the lower body. Therefore, everyone would train hard. After a long time, the effect of Tan Tue was not that obvious. Unless it was someone who could train Tan Tue to the extreme. Coincidentally, Su Yun was one of them. Coincidentally, Blackwater, who he met this time, was also a player whose lower body was not as solid as his basic skills. This could be considered as fate. Su Yun summoned a magpie ascending the Plum Blossom Peak and followed it up with a wind lotus leaf kick. His body sank and he directly avoided the attacks of the 3 paths of Blackwater's fist technique. Blackwater fought back in 3 different ways, but Su Yun attacked Blackwater's ankles, calves, and knees. Blackwater was having a hard time even standing up, let alone fighting back. Su Yun suddenly struck out with a whip and repelled Blackwater. Blackwater staggered a few steps. He had lost all his face. There wasn't a single bit of face planted, it was a clean cut. Neither of them was at a disadvantage. Blackwater was the first to be at a disadvantage. Mu Baichen smiled faintly as he watched from the side. His heart was filled with admiration. As expected of the person he fancied, to be able to see through Blackwater's weakness in such a short time, it was truly out of Mu Baichen's expectations. The first 2 times Su Yun fought with Blackwater, he was unable to fully focus on the fight. There were always other dangers that distracted him. So Su Yun did not have the chance to see through Blackwater's weakness in the first 2 fights. But this time was different. Su Yun did not need to worry about anything else. With Mu Baichen here, he did not need to worry about the safety of the others. Blackwater was different. He was thinking of finding a chance to escape, but he also had to worry about whether or not the opponent with terrifying strength would make a move. So Blackwater's thoughts were more chaotic and he exposed his weakness faster. After suffering a loss, Blackwater quickly retreated, wanting to regain the initiative. Training your fists without training your legs, you're a big idiot. Su Yun said, Blackwater, I really couldn't tell. Someone with your strength, your lower body skills are actually so weak. You didn't even have a good foundation. For you to have your cultivation today, it's really inconceivable. Legs were a basic skill. There was no martial cultivator who did not train in them. Once they trained their legs well, they would be able to coordinate their movements. They would be able to have many moves and attack and defend quickly. Moreover, the explosive power of legs was far stronger than fists and palms. Tan Tue's lower body moves were about 3 inches below the knees. The moves were small and fast, and there was no fear of being countered. Combined with the upper body's attacks, it was mainly about slashing and smashing. The momentum was great, and it could always catch the opponent off guard. Hands are 2 doors. I use my legs to hit people. Su Yun raised his leg and shook his ankle. It's a pity that your legs are a bit too useless. Don't be so happy too early. Blackwater said, this is just the beginning. In his anger, Blackwater flipped his wrist and several steel spikes suddenly appeared under his wrist. These things were clearly tailor-made. Blackwater directly held them in his hand, and they were as sharp as an eagle's claws. Blackwater also took out his special skill. His best skill was claw skill. Without waiting for Su Yun to sense the danger, Blackwater attacked. A mournful cut claw directly attacked Su Yun's face. Because it happened so suddenly, Su Yun did not dare to casually block the sharp steel spikes. Thus, he could only retreat. If the steel spikes were coated with poison, it would be dangerous. Thus, Su Yun did not dare to make a hasty judgment. Blackwater's attack missed, and he followed up with 1,000 spikes piercing hand. This forced Su Yun to retreat even more. The 2 of them were evenly matched. If they were both unarmed, it would have been fine. At the very least, Su Yun would have had a chance to defend himself. However, now that Blackwater was using a weapon, Su Yun was forced into a corner. Seeing Su Yun retreat, Lin Ge could not help but want to go up and help. They had so many people. Why should they watch Su Yun fall into danger? They could just casually follow the 2 of them and deal with Blackwater. What was the point of fighting one-on-one? If there was no danger, then so be it. If there was danger, then what was the point of fighting? Mu Baichen pulled Lin Ge back. Lin Ge was startled. He looked at Mu Baichen. If not for Mu Baichen's terrifying strength and being a senior, Lin Ge would have already fallen out with him. Are we just going to watch this? Isn't this too dangerous? This kind of person who is greedy for life and afraid of death, knows what he should do. Mu Baichen smiled and calmly said, he doesn't dare to really harm Su Yun. Because he wants to live, what he needs is not to win, not to kill Su Yun, but a hostage that can let him walk out. When Mu Baichen said this clearly, Lin Gu gradually understood. He understood why Mu Baichen was so assured. Because from the beginning, he had determined that Blackwater did not dare to kill Su Yun. Even if Su Yun lost, he would not be in danger. Because Blackwater needed Su Yun to protect him and let him leave this place. Lin Gu looked at Mu Baichen with a face of surprise. This gamble was too big, wasn't it? What if Blackwater was really desperate and felt that he couldn't live anymore and wanted to drag Su Yun to the grave with him regardless of the consequences? This was too dangerous. He could not afford to gamble. But Mu Baichen was still confident. He seemed to have seen through Lin Ji's thoughts. Don't worry. For people like him, even if it is the second before the coffin, as long as there is a chance to live, he will not let it go. So he will not have the thought of dying together with Su Yun. With Mu Baichen's words, Lin Ji's heart calmed down a little. As long as my brother is safe, Lin Gu said. I don't want him to be in danger with so many of us here. Mu Baichen smiled. How could that be? Although Mu Baichen had said that he had to be righteous and teach Blackwater a lesson, these were just words. But these were just words. When Su Yun was not in danger, he would say such things. Once Blackwater really wanted to kill, Su Yun would really be in trouble. Would he care about these things? Those who understood Mu Baichen all knew that he was not a person who cared about morals. Who cared about morality. These were all empty words, and it was fine to say them occasionally. After experiencing so many life and death situations, Mu Baichen had long thrown these things out to feed the dogs. As long as he could win, as long as he could live, the method did not matter. Bullying with numbers was of course even more indifferent. He did not let his subordinates beat Blackwater from the start because he wanted to give Su Yun a chance. He could see that Su Yun wanted to personally take care of this person. That was all. Chapter 2803. Blackwater held a sharp blade and attacked fiercely. Within 3 to 5 moves, Su Yun had no way to retreat. Fortunately, Su Yun reacted quickly. When he retreated, he broke off a piece of solid wood fence and used it to block Blackwater's steel thorns. The steel thorns were so sharp that they directly pierced through the solid wood fence in Su Yun's hands. Blackwater was so angry that he slammed the steel thorns in his hands together. The solid wood fence was directly shattered into pieces. It was at this moment that Su Yun suddenly stomped on the ground and punched Blackwater in the chest with a powerful punch. Su Yun had been using leg techniques all this while, but now he suddenly changed to fist techniques. Obviously, he had caught Blackwater off guard. Blackwater put all his attention on protecting his lower body and didn't notice Su Yun's punch at all. After this punch, Blackwater was completely dumbfounded. Baji fist. Although the movement was simple, it was fierce and crisp. Using the will to guide the chi, using the chi to destroy the force, the 3 plates and 6 points combined into one, and the momentum was majestic. It was said that Tai Chi calmed the world, and Baji fist calmed the world. This was not a casual remark. The power of the 8 extremities fist was ferocious and sudden. The force was released from Su Yun's body. For an expert, Su Yun's every part was highly coordinated and released at the same time, which fully stimulated all the potential in his body. This caused the power of the fist to erupt outwards in an instant to form the characteristic of Baji fist's power, which was fierce and violent. The practicality of Baji fist lay in its great power and great lethality. Even the simplest and most basic moves were very effective. Blackwater was directly sent flying several meters away by this punch. He could only try his best to lower his body and hold the steel thorns in his hands directly into the ground to stabilize himself. Looking at the grass that was cut open by the steel thorns, one could see how much force Blackwater used to stabilize himself. The nearly 20 centimeters steel thorns pierced 15 centimeters into the ground. It was with such a great resistance that Blackwater didn't fall to the ground. Blackwater stood up and sneered. Just as he was about to open his mouth to mock Su Yun, he felt his blood boiling in his chest. Black Water widened his bloodshot eyes and swallowed a mouthful of blood. He could not spit out this mouthful of blood. Once he showed any signs of weakness, he would be crippled. Su Yun's self-confidence would soar. Once he had confidence, he would be more unscrupulous. At that time, Black Water would really have no chance. Black Water knew that any of her actions would affect the outcome and trend of the game. Humph, not bad. Interesting. Black Water forced a smile. He was the only one who knew about his internal injuries. Su Yun was surprised that Black Water, who was not very good at resisting attacks, could withstand his full-strength punch, which really surprised him. The corner of Mu Baichen's mouth curled into an imperceptible smile. Who won and who lost, the result was already very clear. Uncle, that guy is completely fine. My brother just... Lin Gu was a little anxious. Let's not take the risk. Mu Baichen gave Lin Gu a kick. Brat, why can't you hold it in? Can't you see who is holding it in? Lin Gu exclaimed, Black Water is holding it in? Why can't I see it? Or are you saying that my brother is holding it in? Of course not your brother. Mu Baichen said, that full-strength punch from your brother just now, unless it's someone with Sky Xian protection, no one would be uninjured. Even if it's me, I would still suffer internal injuries. But Black Water is fine. Lin Gu said anxiously. He's fine? He forced himself to swallow that mouthful of blood, just to not let others feel that he suffered a loss. Mu Baichen shook his head in disdain. Now even if Su Yun doesn't touch him, he won't last more than 2 hours before being crippled. The blood clots caused by internal injuries had to be expelled as soon as possible to control the body's balance and allow the body to recover quickly. If the blood clots were not expelled, the effects on the body would be great. Black Water did not have the time to find someone to treat his internal injuries, and the blood clots that he could have spat out earlier were forced back by him. To him, this was 100 harms and no benefits. It only gave him a psychological advantage. Everything else was meaningless to Black Water. Black Water was already at the edge of a cliff. Su Yun only needed to move a finger, or even blow a breath, and he would be crippled forever. Although Lin Gu did not see Black Water's current situation, but since Mu Baichen said so, he did not need to doubt it. How could the words of a man who had experienced 100 times more than them be false? Mu Baichen was a man who lived on the edge of life and death at any time. He could see these things very clearly. Even Wan Guangxiao had to admire him for this. He was truly someone who could not help but be convinced. Although Su Yun could not be as clear as Mu Baichen about Black Water's situation, he could be very sure of one thing. Black Water was definitely injured, and it would be very difficult for him to have a chance to turn the situation around. The more it was like this, the more cautious Su Yun knew he had to be. A cornered beast struggle was reflected in this situation. Black Water did not have any other chances. He was a cornered beast. If he could not get a chance to escape, only death would await him. At this time, Black Water would not let go of any chance. He would not miss any mistake on Su Yun's part. Therefore, Su Yun had to be even more careful. Only this way, Black Water would not have the slightest chance. Su Yun, you have an unfair advantage today. Black Water sneered, you only dare to challenge me because you have these people behind you. If we were one-on-one, would you still dare? Su Yun did not know what Black Water was planning. He did not want to continue the conversation. You brought people to cause trouble for me. That is not an unfair advantage. Now you are telling me that I have an unfair advantage? They came to do their own thing. It has nothing to do with you and me, Black Water said. Su Yun nodded. I will say the same to you. The matter between us, my people did not interfere. Although they did not directly interfere, but... I find that you talk a lot of nonsense, Su Yun interrupted Black Water. If you can't afford to lose, don't play with me. Black Water was startled. Who are you calling a sore loser? Of course I'm talking about you. Other than you, who else can I talk about? Su Yun said, Black Water, don't make me look down on you. It is not the right time to find excuses. Blackwater narrowed her eyes. Do you really think I'm a despicable thing? I, Blackwater, am not one of those despicable things. Su Yun smiled disdainfully. I don't think you are a lowlife. Even if you are not a lowlife, you are not far from one. Are you really not afraid of death? Blackwater was startled, not understanding what Su Yun meant by the last sentence. If you are really afraid of death, maybe I will give you a chance. Su Yun smiled. Blackwater hesitated. For a moment, he didn't know how to answer Su Yun's question. Su Yun laughed and said, Look at you, Blackwater. I was just casually saying something and you're already tempted. How can I look up to you? Nonsense. Don't think about it with your donkey brain. Do you think I will give you a chance? Keep dreaming while the sky is still dark. You are King kidding me. Blackwater gritted his teeth. His heart had softened. If he could live, he would beg for mercy. Blackwater did not care about being humiliated. His motto was that as long as he did not kill, he could be humiliated. Where there is life, there is hope. Blackwater was such a person. Chapter 2804. Su Yun did not need to worry about Mu Baichen anymore. With a wave of his hand, he gestured for his men to listen to his orders. The orders from above are to not let a single person from the Blood Wolf Regiment go. No matter if they are dead or alive, they must be brought back to be dealt with. Mu Baichen said lightly, You all heard it clearly. The entire scene became deathly silent. Wan Xiaoping took a deep breath. What was coming could not be avoided. All he could do now was to do his best. If he could avoid this calamity, that would be the best. If he could not, then he could only resign himself to fate. The Blood Wolf Regiment had believed that their fate was up to them and not the heavens. Who knew that when it came to Wan Xiaoping, it was up to the heavens as well. Do it, what are you all waiting for? Mu Baichen's order was simple. His tone of voice was neither fast nor slow, but his actions were swift and decisive. The members of the dark group did not have names, only code names. Mu Baichen was an exception, but in the dark group, no one would call him by that name. It was just that when he saw Wan Guangxiao and the others, Wan Guangxiao still felt that calling him by his name was more intimate. An Ying, an Yi, an Yi, an Chen, an Luo, an Nian, an Feng, an Bing, an Yin. The 9 people that Mu Baichen had brought out for this mission seemed to attack at the same time. Wan Xiaoping did not hesitate to block an Ying and an Yi's attacks. The others also began to fight against their opponents. An Yi faced Meng Duan, and Chen faced Yi Hui, and Luo aimed his fist at Spirit City, and Yen's fist went towards destruction, and Feng swept his leg towards 3,000 faces, and Bing faced Absolute Song, and Yin did not waste time and attacked Scorching Sunday. The 9 members of the dark group faced the 7 absolutes of the Blood Wolf Regiment and were not at a disadvantage. In a one-on-one battle, everyone had a huge advantage. From the start, they had forced their opponents to the point where they could only be on guard. As for an Ying and an Yi, it was even easier. Although Wan Xiaoping's strength was not bad, but with the 2 of them working together, Wan Xiaoping could not gain any advantage. Other than holding on, Wan Xiaoping had no other way to escape. Mu Baichen patted Lin Gu. Go into the house and get a chair for uncle. Lin Gu left without a second word. Mu Baichen was simply his idol. With a wave of his hand, he could mobilize so many experts, while he himself was in charge of the overall situation. As soon as Lin Gu left, Mu Baichen looked back at Bai Xiaoye. Hee, niece, if I ask you to get me a bottle of beer, do you think your mom will cause trouble for me? Of course not. Bai Xiaoye said excitedly, I'll go get the wine for uncle now. Mu Baichen was definitely a timely help to them, so of course they would treat him well. Shall I make you a cup of tea? Ruan Qingxuang asked. That won't be necessary. Mu Baichen said, I'm a bit thirsty, I can't even drink the hot tea. Don't be too courteous to me, I won't be used to it. Mu Baichen, on the other hand, was quite approachable. He sat on a chair and drank a box of Budweiser that Bai Xiaoye brought out for him. If they added in some equipment, it would really be like shooting a movie. And Mu Baichen was like a great director, sitting on a chair, he had the right to shout cut at any time. The Blood Wolf group was quickly suppressed by the powerful strength of the Dock Department. This was an incomparable confrontation. Dock Department, without the strength of the Earth Profound Realm, you want to go to the Dock Department? Pay. Mu Baichen definitely didn't want it. The only person that Mu Baichen liked who wasn't in the Earth Profound Realm was Su Yun. At that time, Su Yun was still young and he felt that he had potential. And now, as the head of the Dock Department, Mu Baichen definitely wouldn't accept anyone below the Earth Profound Realm. It wasn't that Mu Baichen's eyes grew on top of his head and looked down on people, but he, Mu Baichen, didn't want to see any more of his brothers die. In these years in the Dock Department, death was always with him. He already couldn't remember how many of his brothers' names were carved on the stone tablet. He only knew that if he didn't have enough strength, there was only one result for entering the Dock Department, and that was death. In these years, he raised the bar of the Dock Department. It wasn't that he was arrogant, it was just that he didn't want to see any more of his brothers die. In the past, the Dock Department's minimum requirement was the strength of the Master Realm, but now, it was at least the Earth Profound Realm. One could imagine how terrifying the Dock Department's strength was now. The Blood Wolf group had always considered themselves as the world's most powerful group, but if the country wanted to deal with them, they only needed to arrange a Dock Department to deal with them. The number of experts the Blood Wolf group had, the Dock Department would have more experts than them. The Blood Wolf group's strength was terrifying, but the Dock Department's experts were even stronger and more terrifying than them. This was a fact that would never change. Mu Baichen knew that if he wanted the mission to be easy, if he didn't want to have any casualties, strength was the standard. Without strength, everything was nonsense. Mu Baichen remembered very clearly that in the most tragic year, he lost 13 of his brothers. Others might not think that it was a big deal. In this line of work, wasn't it a very normal thing to have this kind of situation? But in fact, Su Yun was very clear about this feeling. He had led Dragon's Fury for so many years, and only one brother left him. Just the death of one person was enough to make him feel pain. This kind of brotherly relationship was completely different from the kind of relationship that the people who mixed in the outside world had with bad friends. They were life and death friends, and the feelings between people who went through life and death together was something that those who had never experienced before couldn't feel. When Mu Baichen asked to raise the bar of the Dock Department, there were actually many people in the upper management who opposed it. Of course, they had their reasons for opposing it. Some things were not that simple. Once the bar was raised, the number of Dock Department members who entered each year would immediately be limited. This was a very pessimistic situation. But Mu Baichen slammed the table at that time. He said that although the number of Dock Department members would be limited, and the number of Dock Department members would be less than before, the number of Dock Department members who would die would also be less. He said that he would remember the lives of all his brothers by his side in his heart. That was Mu Baichen's 15th year in the Dock Department. He clearly remembered that he had lost 101 brothers by his side. In 15 years, he watched more than 100 brothers leave one by one. Some died without a complete corpse, some died with their eyes open. What kind of pain was this? People who weren't in his position would never understand. So in the end, the upper management agreed to Mu Baichen's request, and raised the bar of the Dock Department. As they expected, the number of Dock Department members who entered each year was obviously limited. But Mu Baichen's promise to them was also fulfilled. The number of Dock Department casualties was obviously reduced. In these 5 years, there were 4 brothers who unfortunately left, which greatly reduced the pressure in Mu Baichen's heart. Sometimes, a lot of things were like this. A lot of superficial phenomena couldn't be explained. Mu Baichen was now completely at ease with his subordinates. At least he didn't have to worry about someone dying every time he went on a mission. Now, Mu Baichen could sit in a chair and drink beer. In the past, he couldn't. This all depended on the strength of the Dock Department. Bai Xiaoye saw Mu Baichen drink a bottle of beer and immediately opened another one for him. "Uncle, drink more. There's more at home, as much as you want." Your family is a beer agent? Mu Baichen laughed. But you really need to prepare some for me. My brothers will be thirsty in a while. Definitely enough. Bai Xiaoye promised. There was no shortage of beer at home. Chapter 28:05. There was an old saying in Huaxia, don't cry until you see the coffin, don't give up until you reach the Yellow River. Wen Xiuping led the Blood Wolf Regiment to make a final struggle, but soon realized that resistance was completely futile. Wen Xiuping, who wanted to fight 1 against 2, was already at a disadvantage. An Ying and an Yi were just toying with him. If they wanted to use force, he would have already collapsed. The rest of the 7 invincible were also in a tough battle. Even Meng Duan, who was the strongest, was suppressed by an Yi to the point that he couldn't do anything. The Blood Wolf Regiment, who was still arrogant 10 minutes ago, was reduced to such a state in just a few minutes. Moreover, Mu Baichen hadn't made a move yet. What if Mu Baichen made a move? Would they still have the slightest bit of resistance? Then they really wouldn't have the slightest bit of resistance. On the other side, Blackwater, who was injured, could only dodge and retreat. He didn't have any power to resist. Although Su Yun completely grasped the initiative, he didn't dare to act rashly before confirming whether or not Blackwater was sleeping. At times like this, it was easier to fail miserably. Su Yun was well aware of this. Su Yun was also very cautious, so cautious that he didn't dare to be careless at all. Therefore, even if Blackwater tried his best to endure and look for opportunities and flaws, he didn't get any chance. No matter how weak he acted, no matter how weak he pretended to be, Su Yun didn't let down his guard. This cut off Blackwater's last chance. At some point, Blackwater even wanted to ask Su Yun, why was he still so cautious? However, before he could ask, Su Yun gave an answer first. Blackwater, you really aren't a good actor. You don't act at all. Blackwater was stunned. Do you know what a person who can't fight back looks like? Su Yun said, because you haven't experienced that situation, so you don't know what it feels like. What do you mean? Blackwater said, I've had that experience, so I know that when a person can't fight back at all, it doesn't look like what you're doing. Su Yun ignored Blackwater and continued, wolves pretend to sleep in order to lure their prey closer, and you are such a wolf now. When a wolf was healthy, it would lurk for the sake of hunting. Its endurance in lurking was astonishing. When a wolf was injured, it knew how to hide. Not only did it know how to hide, but it also knew how to pretend to be dead. All of this was for the sake of ultimate success. I don't understand what you're talking about. Blackwater glared at Su Yun angrily. It was really uncomfortable to be exposed at the beginning. Su Yun said calmly, you want to trick me into letting my guard down and then give me a fatal blow? Blackwater, you are too naive. You've got guts. I've fallen into your hands today, but you better let me die a quick death. As long as I have a chance to live, I'll make sure you regret it. Blackwater Daoist said. Don't worry. You won't be able to leave alive today. Su Yun said, I'll give you the answer you want. Blackwater was startled. His mind was spinning rapidly. He didn't really want to die. Threatening Su Yun was purely for the sake of survival. Unfortunately, Su Yun didn't fall for it. Blackwater's trick didn't work at all. Su Yun, as a person, don't take a step back. We'll meet again in the future. Blackwater was terrified. He was really terrified. I know the misunderstanding between us can be resolved. Give me a chance. Take a step back and everything will be fine. Give you a chance? You'll bite me to death if I take a step back. Su Yun said, you can say this to others, but it's meaningless to say it to me. Even though he was scolded, Blackwater wasn't angry at all. I'm telling you, Su Yun, there's really no need for us to do this. This is the conflict between the Tao, Zhao, and Jiang families. I'm just doing something. You're not a member of the Jiang family. We're all outsiders. Why should we hurt our relationship for them? Su Yun's face was full of disdain. He was talking about this now. Previously, When Mu Baichen did not bring anyone with him, Su Yun could clearly remember Blackwater's face. Blackwater looked like he wasn't afraid of anything. He came here to teach him a lesson. Now that he realized he didn't have the ability, he could only obediently admit defeat. If you said this the second time we met, I might believe you. But this time, if I believe you, I'll really have water in my head. Su Yun pointed at his head. Lin Gu anxiously watched from behind and shouted, "Brother, why are you still talking nonsense with him? This grandson is injured. Take advantage of the situation and directly chop off his dog head and feed it to the pigs." Su Yun's eyes turned cold. Blackwater realized he couldn't escape today. "Fine, even if I can't escape today, I'll take you down with me." Blackwater silently took out a capsule-like thing from his pocket. Everything was done without anyone noticing. Inside the capsule was a colorless and odorless gas poison. As long as he crushed the capsule, anyone who smelled it within 5 meters would die within 24 hours. This was something he got from a top poison master. It was also something Blackwater used to kill himself or take his enemies down with him. Blackwater had carried the poison capsule with him for many years. He originally thought he wouldn't have the chance to use it in his life. But he didn't expect to use it in Huaxia. If he didn't choose to take his enemy down with him, Blackwater really didn't have any other abilities. This was the last thing he could do. If he died, he had to make Su Yun die with him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to die in peace. Su Yun didn't notice all this, but it didn't escape another pair of eyes. "Kid, stay away from him." Mu Baichen saw Blackwater's actions and immediately reminded Su Yun. Su Yun's thoughts were very clear. Mu Baichen wouldn't easily say anything to him. But if he did, it would be worth his attention. When Blackwater heard Mu Baichen's words, his face instantly turned ugly. Su Yun retreated a few steps. Although he didn't know why Mu Baichen said this, Su Yun saw Blackwater's face and immediately understood. "Blackwater, you have to be open and above board." Mu Baichen said, "If you play these dirty tricks, then don't blame me for going back on my words." Blackwater gritted his teeth as he looked at Mu Baichen. He had already concealed himself very well. How could Mu Baichen have seen it? "I don't understand what you mean. If you want to go back on your words, I don't care if others interfere with the matters between me and Su Yun," Blackwater said, "but don't pretend to be noble." Mu Baichen wasn't surprised by Blackwater's counterattack. "I'm pretending to be noble? Don't think I don't know what you're holding in your hand." Blackwater was startled. Was this really the legendary eagle eye? In the middle of the night, with this kind of light, what could he see? "I don't want to talk nonsense with you, but I can promise you that if you dare to use the thing in your hand to do anything dirty, I promise you that everything you do will only be done to yourself." Mu Baichen said, "I've always been a man of my word." Facing Mu Baichen's threat, Blackwater could only sigh. He couldn't do anything. Mu Baichen dared to say that he would do it. Whether or not he was bragging, no one knew. Blackwater didn't dare to try. If he did, he would be risking his life. Su Yun was on guard against Blackwater's every move. This guy was definitely up to something. Luckily, he had Mu Baichen. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to see through Blackwater's intentions. Chapter 2806. Don't use your status to slander me. Blackwater said, "Although I, Blackwater, am not an honorable person, I am not a despicable person." Now Blackwater needed to prove his innocence in order to make Su Yun let down his guard. Right now Su Yun was 7 meters away from him. Even if he crushed the capsule, it was impossible for Su Yun to smell the colorless and odorless poison inside. So he had to let Su Yun get close to him, within 3 meters of him. When he crushed the capsule, no matter how great Su Yun's abilities were, he would not be able to dodge the poison. Blackwater's denial was to make Su Yun believe that he did not have any tricks up his sleeves. Only then could he approach him. "Don't make me say some things clearly. If I say it clearly, it won't be interesting." Mu Baichen knit his brows. Do you think I don't know what you have in your hand? Blackwater's forehead was covered in sweat. But his mouth refused to admit it. What do I have in my hand? Don't speak nonsense just because it's dark. If you want to play, then play. If you can't play, then don't say those words. Can't play? I really want to see who can't play. Mu Baichen gave a disdainful smile. That thing is not the poison you think it is. It is something even more poisonous than poison. Blackwater was stunned. He had never used this thing before, so he did not know its power. This was something he had obtained from a mysterious expert in the southern Sichuan region. It was a protective talisman, but also a suicide weapon when he had no other way out. These years, he had always carried this thing with him, carefully taking care of it. He did not know why, but he felt that this thing had a life of its own, as if it was a part of his body. Hearing Mu Baichen's words today, Blackwater's face was filled with fear. Mu Baichen seemed to know what this thing was. If you obtain this thing in the southern Sichuan region, then my guess is not wrong. Mu Baichen gave a snort. Do you have anything to say now? What do you mean? So what if it's southern Sichuan? Blackwater had unconsciously admitted that there was indeed something abnormal in his hands. If you have something to say, then say it clearly. Don't leave half of it unfinished. Mu Baichen helplessly shook his head. You don't even know what the bone-eroding insect is, yet you dare to carry it with you. How did a person like you who is so afraid of death do it? Bone-corroding goo? Blackwater had never heard of such a thing. The thing in his hand was only a clear and hollow capsule. How could it be a goo? The expert who gave him this thing did not say that it was a goo. He only said that once this thing was broken, it would cause the death of everyone within 5 meters of him, including himself. Blackwater only knew that it was a colorless and odorless poison. However, Mu Baichen's understanding of this bone-eroding goo was much greater than Blackwater's. It had to be said that this was all due to the romantic debt from when he was young. When he was young, Mu Baichen led a team to southern Sichuan to deal with a tribal dispute. A Miao girl was saved by him, and they quickly fell in love. At that time, Mu Baichen had truly fallen for her. At the same time, he was very clear that it was a mistake for him to fall for her. Because it was impossible for him to give that girl any kind of future. At that time, Mu Baichen had already entered the dock department. Everyone in the dock unit ended their lives by sacrificing their lives for the country. So Mu Baichen knew that his falling for her was not fair at all. But the feelings that had already begun could not be taken back. When Mu Baichen wanted to take back his feelings, for the sake of the girl's future, he had to harden his heart. In truth, everything he did was because of his deep love, so he had to harden his heart. Doing this also made him feel unbearable heartache. But the Miao girl could not understand Mu Baichen's actions. She also could not understand what kind of occupation Mu Baichen had in the dock department. Her understanding of Mu Baichen was too little. Mu Baichen wanted her to give up as soon as possible. He had completely disguised himself as a heartless scoundrel, completely breaking the Miao girl's heart. The Miao girl was a goo expert. Her love for Mu Baichen made her hate him even more crazily. She wanted revenge. So she gave Mu Baichen a capsule of white matter, which was the thing in Blackwater's hand. She told Mu Baichen that it contained all of her love for him. If Mu Baichen could really harden his heart, then he should crush it. After crushing it, the two of them would no longer have anything to do with each other. She also told Mu Baichen that as long as he crushed it, she would be able to feel it. She said that this thing was connected to her heart. The girl turned and left after saying this. Mu Baichen wanted her to give up completely, so he crushed this thing. Mu Baichen was so familiar with the bone-eroding goo because he had been afflicted with it before. Of course, the bone-eroding goo would not cause a person to die on the spot. It would cause the person's central nervous system to be controlled by the bone-eroding goo in a very short period of time. Then the person would instantly lose control of their own body. At that moment, the person would look like they were dead. But that was not the case. This was not a death phenomenon, but a state of losing all consciousness. At that time, the bone-eroding goo would cause the person to lose all of their body's functions. This also meant that the blood and oxygen supply to the brain would be cut off. After the blood and oxygen supply to the brain was cut off, within a minute, the brain cells would stop working. Around 4 minutes, the brain cells would start to die. Around 6 minutes, it would cause irreversible brain damage. Chapter 2807. Mu Bai Chen had been baptized countless times by the things and pain of the past. That was why Mu Bai Chen was so calm. But being calm did not mean he would let black water go. Black water had brought back his troublesome memories. He naturally did not want to let him go. But Mu Bai Chen, who had experienced the power of the bone-corroding goo, would not let Su Yun take the risk. This was Qin Island. It was 3,000 kilometers away from southern Chuan. Even if they knew who the person was and rushed over to find the person, it was impossible to save the person who had been poisoned by the goo technique. "Stop acting mysterious in front of me. Are you trying to scare me?" Blackwater coldly said, "You know I have been to southern Chuan, that means you have also been there. You have seen the things you should have seen, you should know how dangerous it is to provoke me. If you dare to crush the thing in your hand, I promise you will regret it." Mu Bai Chen said, "I don't know what you think the thing in your hand is, but I can tell you clearly that it is the bone-corroding goo. Believe it or not, it is fine." Blackwater disdainfully said, "So what if I don't believe it? Since you have seen through it, I can't be bothered to hide it. If you dare come over, I will immediately crush the thing in my hand. Then you won't live." Mu Bai Chen said, "If you catch me, I won't live either." Blackwater angrily said, "I would rather die with you. If you want me to surrender, there is no way." People who did not know the power of the bone-corroding goo would not be worried about Blackwater's threat. Su Yun did not believe it. "I really want to see how strong you are." "Die with you? All right. Then let's try it." After saying this, Su Yun really wanted to go forward. "Don't act rashly," Mu Bai Chen sternly said. Su Yun did not know the power of the bone-corroding goo, so he did not fear it. But he could not just watch as Su Yun went forward to die. Su Yun was stunned. "Uncle Mu, let me deal with him. We agreed from the start that I would deal with this guy. Kid, don't let your emotions affect your decisions." Mu Bai Chen said, "The bone-eroding goo is not something to play around with. If something happens to you in front of me, how am I going to explain it to Wan Guangxiao and Wang Yi?" This was something that Mu Bai Chen would never allow to happen. "I can handle it." Su Yun smiled. Mu Bai Chen saw that Su Yun had no intention of listening and his face turned ashen. He looked at He Shui. "Today I, your father, will let you scram. You better not take a single step into Huaxia." "What?" Su Yun, Lin Guo, and everyone else were stunned. Mu Bai Chen actually wanted to let Blackwater go? Su Yun's smile froze. He was completely confused. "Uncle Mu, what are you trying to do? How can I let him go? I call the shots here." Mu Bai Chen said, "If you trust me, then don't mess things up. Everything I do is for your sake." Blackwater was proud now. He didn't think that an expert of this level would be so afraid of the thing in his hand. If this guy didn't see through it, then he would have to die together with him. And this guy recognized this thing, and actually gave him a chance to leave. This was much easier than the chance he had to think of. If he had known earlier, he would have taken it out earlier. But when he thought of what Mu Bai Chen said was the bone-eroding goo, Blackwater wanted to throw it away. If he broke it one day and something terrible happened, then he wouldn't be able to control it. "Uncle Mu, I will deal with my matters." Su Yun said seriously, "Blackwater is my target. Your opponent is the Blood Wolf Group. You just need to do your job well. I will take care of the rest." Su Yun's stubbornness made Mu Bai Chen angry and helpless. But what he admired the most about Su Yun was his stubbornness. "Uncle, don't worry. Let Su Yun go." Zuamian smiled. "Su Yun can solve the problem. You youngsters don't know the terror of the bone-eroding goo." Mu Bai Chen said, "Don't say such irresponsible words." Zhuo Meiyan didn't say anything else. At this time, Su Yun was already close to Blackwater. Although Blackwater was already prepared to perish together with Mu Baichen, after Mu Baichen gave him hope, he still became nervous. When there was a chance to live, who would want to die? Do you really not want to live anymore? Didn't you hear what he said about the power of the thing in my hand? Blackwater said, Su Yun, if you want to die, then I won't be polite to you. If you want to die, then we'll die together. Su Yun sneered, then you can try. How could Blackwater, who had just ignited his desire to live, be willing to die? Don't force me. Blackwater stared. Are you crazy? Do you really want to die? Of course I don't want to die, but if you want to die, I don't mind accompanying you. Su Yun said, since you're so afraid of death, why bother acting so pretentious? Blackwater was continuously forced back by Su Yun. At this moment, he actually looked at Mu Baichen with a pleading gaze. Mu Baichen was also nervous. If it was him, he wouldn't be so nervous. But the person in front of Blackwater was Su Yun. This made him more nervous than himself. Kid, you don't need to use your life to deal with someone like him. Mu Baichen said. He really felt it wasn't worth it. Blackwater's life was the most worthless thing in Mu Baichen's eyes. Blackwater saw Mu Baichen tense up and immediately raised his hand, shouting, as long as I use my strength, we're all finished. I'm waiting for you. Su Yun didn't make a move. He walked 2 to 3 meters in front of Blackwater and stopped. If you're a man with guts, then make a move. Blackwater actually knelt down at this moment. His behavior was really out of everyone's expectations. No one had thought that Blackwater would do such a thing. It was really shocking. Even Mu Baichen was dumbfounded. This kind of coward was really not worthy of being Su Yun's opponent. Su Yun forced him like this and he could still be a coward. Why do you have to force me like this? This is the problem of the 7 great families. I'm just doing my job. Blackwater said, the misunderstanding between us has been resolved today. What's the point of using your life to exchange for mine? Su Yun sneered, I remember the last time we fought, I warned you not to let me see you again. Otherwise, I won't let you leave Hua Xia alive. You didn't say that. Blackwater said. Su Yun shrugged. I said it in my heart. It doesn't matter if you heard it or not. Blackwater was stunned. What is this? I won't let you go today. Su Yun said, if you really dare to die, then let's perish together. Mu Baichen's heart was in his mouth again. A cornered dog would jump over a wall. A cornered rabbit would bite. With Su Yun pressuring him like this, Mu Baichen was really worried that Blackwater would fall out with him. If Blackwater was really anxious and fell out with him, then it wouldn't be easy for anyone to clean up the mess. Blackwater was already trembling. He didn't expect Su Yun to oppose him like this. Even if you don't dare to die today, I'll make you die. Su Yun said, you don't really think you'll have a good ending in my hands, do you? This final provocation was definitely a sharp blade that pierced into Blackwater's heart. Blackwater's face was ashen, his lips trembling. Fine, Su Yun, since you want to die so much, then I'll let you accompany me to see King Yama. This way, you won't be lonely and bored on the road to the Yellow Springs. Mu Baichen's expression changed. Not good. But it was too late. Blackwater had already crushed the bone-eroding goo in his hand. Thousands of bone-eroding goo that couldn't be seen with the naked eye instantly entered Su Yun and Blackwater's bodies. Chapter 2808. Mu Baichen's mind went blank as Su Yun and Blackwater fell to the ground in front of him. He violently jumped up. His figure was like a bolt of lightning that streaked across the night sky. The first thing he did was to appear beside Su Yun. The tile where he was standing earlier was crushed to pieces by the force of his feet. There were 2 abnormally shallow pits that made people's jaws drop. Of the 7 absolutes, Absolute Song was forced to the point of no retreat. Zhuo Ri retreated to a position not far from Mu Baichen. Seeing that Mu Baichen's attention was on Su Yun on the ground, He had an evil thought in his heart. The two of them actually wanted to take advantage of Mu Baichen's unpreparedness to launch a surprise attack. The two of them looked at each other and nodded slightly. They immediately came to an agreement and joined hands to attack Mu Baichen's back. Seeing that the two of them were about to succeed, Mu Baichen's body suddenly exploded with a pressure that made it hard for people to breathe. This kind of powerful domineering aura was something that the people present had felt from Su Yun before. It was a terrifying aura that only appeared when Su Yun's heart demon erupted. So they were all too clear on what kind of strength this was. Just as Absolute Song and Zhuori were about to succeed, Mu Baichen turned around with lightning speed and a ruthless fist smashed into Absolute Song's face with a crushing force. Absolute Song's body was like a cannon that landed heavily on the ground. After crashing to the ground, there was no longer any movement. At this moment, almost everyone stopped. Perhaps there was only one thought in everyone's mind. Had Juij's head been completely shattered? And Zhuori's fate was even worse. When he realized that they were just like ants in front of Mu Baichen, it was already too late. When Zhuori turned around to escape, Mu Baichen's leg whipped out. Zhuori's entire body seemed to have been broken in half. There was only one possibility for that unimaginable twist. His entire spine had been broken. Zhuori, who had already lost all signs of life, crashed to the ground. It was so quiet that it was like a song without a single sound. Mu Baichen's strength was terrifying to the point that no one present could speak, including Bai Xiaoye. Mu Baichen's strength was probably above the 5 great war gods, right? Overwhelming and terrifying strength. After so many years of training in the dock department, Mu Baichen's strength had already surpassed Wan Guangxiao's. It was just that he had never admitted it. The most terrifying person in the Dragon Brigade was no longer Wan Guangxiao, but him, Mu Baichen. Wan Guangxiao and the others were well aware of this, but since Mu Baichen did not admit it, they had nothing to say. If not for Su Yun's death today, it would be very difficult for anyone to force Mu Baichen to use his full strength. To provoke Mu Baichen when he was in such a bad mood was simply too unwise. 2 Grandmaster Realm experts were instantly killed by Mu Baichen. They were really instantly killed. There was no movement at all and they were instantly killed. No matter what, they were still 2 extraordinary experts. Lin Ji's chin completely fell to the ground. He simply worshipped him. One must know that Absolute Song and Scorching Sun were both above him in strength, but in front of Mu Baichen, they could not even withstand a single blow. And Bing and An were speechless and said unhappily, "Revered Dark, we were just having fun and you extinguished it." What fun? Mu Baichen was in a bad mood. The two looked at each other and realized that their boss was angry. The people in the dock department were all from the Special Operations Group of the various military regions, so some of them did not know Su Yun at all. Su Yun's death did not affect them too much. As a member of the dock department, they had seen too many dead people, so they did not care too much. But Mu Baichen was different. He had admired Su Yun since he was young. After so many years, this kid had just become a talent. Even if he did not enter the dock department, in the future, he could take over Wan Guangxiao's position in the Dragon Brigade and manage the Dragon Brigade well. That was a very good choice. Such a kid that he thought highly of, just died in front of him. How could he bear it? Finish this quickly for me. Mu Baichen gave a death order. With this, the remaining 5 of the 7 absolutes were completely hopeless. Their strength was already weak, and now it was 6 against 9. What was there to compare? In just a few moves, they were completely suppressed. There was no momentum at all, and this battle had lost its meaning. Tonight, everything was a foregone conclusion. Mu Baichen did not have the joy of successfully completing the mission. He was completely helpless in Su Yun's situation. What to do? What to do? This damn black water actually crushed the bone-eroding venomous insect. What AF** king idiot? Mu Baichen was really about to collapse. Under his watch, how could he let such a thing happen? Why didn't he intervene in advance to stop it? Why didn't he pull Su Yun back when he first left Blackwater's attack range? This fucking result was all because of his arrogance and conceit. He believed too much in his ability to control himself. In the doc group, no one would go against anything he said. And Su Yun was not a member of the doc department. Why was he so sure that Su Yun would listen to him? If he was not so conceited, today's matter would not have happened. Damn it! Just as Mu Baichen was about to fly into a rage, Zhuo Meiyan and Lin Ge came over. Hurry and carry him into the room, Zhuo Meiyan said. Mu Baichen stood up and glared at her. You all shouldn't talk nonsense. Su Yun should not have gotten into trouble. Uncle, don't be angry. Zhuo Meiyan did not seem to be worried about Su Yun's death at all. Didn't you just say that the thing in Blackwater's hand was the bone-eroding goo? Mu Baichen cursed in his heart for not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. Do you know how terrifying the bone-eroding goo is? I've been poisoned by this goo before, so I know how terrifying this thing is. Su Yun really could not be saved. Goo techniques were different from other things. External injuries could be solved by Western medicine's advanced equipment. Internal injuries could be solved by Chinese medicine's 1,000 years of experience. But there was no cure for this goo. Uncle, this is such a coincidence. I was born in the southern Sichuan region. Zhuo Meiyan said, my family also plays with goo. Mu Baichen was stunned. But the tiny bit of hope that had just been ignited in him was immediately extinguished. So what? Zhuo Meiyan said confidently, I'm not a goo master, not since I was young. But I'm a genius at dispelling goo. Su Yun knows this, so what he did just now was out of his trust in me. Trust? Could this trust be played with one's life? Mu Baichen was now even angrier. If you can't save Su Yun, I dare let you die with him. Mu Baichen said this and was a bit stunned himself. He did not think that he would say something like this. Zhuo Meiyan faintly smiled. She did not have any disgust. Don't worry, uncle. If I can't save him, I'll naturally die with him. I won't let down Su Yun's trust. Mu Baichen was stunned. My life was given to me by Su Yun. I know what I should do better than you. Zhuo Meiyan threw down these words and no longer paid attention to Mu Baichen. Everyone quickly returned home. At this time, the problem of the doc department had been solved. Shadow quickly walked behind Mu Baichen. Revered Shadow, the mission is complete. What do we do next? Throw the living or dead into the car. Mu Baichen said, take a few people and go back. We'll be on the road now. What about you? Mu Baichen shook his head. Don't worry about me. Leave Dark Knight to drive for me. Yes. Chapter 2809. After Su Yun was brought into the room, the entire atmosphere froze. Everyone's hopes were placed on Zhuo Meiyan, and the worried Mu Baichen quickly came into the room after assigning his subordinates their tasks. Zhuo Meiyan used her fastest speed to return to the room, and found a fist-sized jar and a 7-inch long silver needle in a locked box under her bed. After she returned to Su Yun's room, everyone immediately made way for her. Lin Ge quickly brought over a chair for her to sit down. Everyone present, other than Mu Baichen, had a certain understanding of Zhuo Meiyan. They had all heard Zhuo Meiyan talk about her family's story. She belonged to a family that raised goo, and in her family, everyone was an expert in raising goo. She had no interest in raising goo since she was young, but she had great attainments in curing goo. This could be considered heavens while toying with people. The bone-eroding goo that Su Yun was infected with was definitely not something to be trifled with. Zhuo Meiyan had seen this thing before. First of all, this bone-eroding goo was not easy to raise, and there was a huge risk in raising it. If the person who raised it did not have a certain level of ability, it was very easy for the bone-eroding goo to hurt themselves. The theory behind raising goo was very simple. It was like those ruthless assassin organizations raising assassins. They put hundreds of people in a room, and only one person could come out alive. After this kind of killing, the person who came out alive was no longer a person. To put it simply, goo cultivation was to place millions of tame spiritual poisonous insects in a jar. The one that survived in the end would be the strongest. The bone-eroding goo was raised like this. This was a transparent goo that was as thin as a hair, and its reproduction ability was terrifying. So once one was raised, in a short period of time, there would be hundreds and thousands of them. Because the bone-eroding goo was as thin as a hair, and could not be seen with the naked eye, normal people could not see it with the naked eye. Only people who truly understood goo techniques could see this kind of goo. Zhua Meiyan made everyone spread out, and she placed the fist-sized jar beside Su Yun. On Zhua Meiyan's neck, there was a strange-looking pendant. This was not an ornament, but something unique to her family. It was called a goo-repelling whistle. Zhua Meiyan placed the goo-expelling whistle near her mouth and blew lightly a few times. The 7-inch-long silver needle in her hand was also ready at any time. After blowing for about half a minute, Zhua Meiyan pierced the silver needle into Su Yun's philtrum. She flipped Su Yun over and pierced one end of the needle into Su Yun's body, while the other end was in the pot. Just like that, Zhua Meiyan continued to blow the goo-expelling whistle. Listening to the sound made people feel a little dazed and strange. Mu Baichen was shocked. He vaguely remembered that he had heard this kind of goo-expelling whistle before. There must be no mistake. He must have heard the sound of the goo-expelling whistle before. Who would have thought that Zhua Meiyan was actually an expert in the goo arts? Although Zhua Meiyan's actions had given Mu Baichen a lot of hope, Mu Baichen still could not completely trust Zhua Meiyan. After all, this was just the beginning. No one knew how it would end. The bone-eroding goo was such a terrifying thing. Even if it could be cured, it would not be so easy. It had already been 3 minutes since Su Yun had been poisoned by the goo. The bone-eroding goo had already started to cause damage to Su Yun's body. These were all things that made Mu Baichen feel helpless. At this time, Lin Ji's sharp eyes saw that there were a few drops of black water at the bottom of the pot. He almost cried out, but because he was afraid of disturbing Zhua Meiyan, he held back. He did not see anything on the silver needle, but why was there a black water stain at the bottom of the pot? This was really surprising. This was the mystical aspect of the goo arts. Lin Gu watched in shock as the black water stain in the pot increased. From a few drops to a small puddle, then more and more. After a minute, the black water in the pot was already as wide as a finger. Zhua Meiyan's forehead was already starting to sweat. Dispelling a goo was even more difficult than planting one. It was not easy to control a goo worm and make it listen to you obediently. This pot was her family's heirloom. Any goo that was drawn in would instantly turn into black water. Zhua Meiyan's goo-expelling whistle was also a legendary treasure in the Chuan-Nan region. And Zhua Meiyan was also very talented in using the goo-expelling whistle. These 3 things had happened to Zhua Meiyan alone. That was why she had the confidence and courage to let Su Yun touch any goo. In Zhua Meiyan's world, there was no goo that could not be controlled by her. As the black water in the pot increased, everyone's mood became more and more expectant. They all knew that this kind of change would definitely have an effect. 3 minutes. Zhua Meiyan blew the goo-expelling whistle for 3 whole minutes. These 3 minutes sounded very fast, but for everyone in the room, it felt like 3 hours had passed. It really felt very long. Finally, Zhua Meiyan stopped blowing the goo-expelling whistle. She used her fastest speed to remove the silver needles from Su Yun's body and swiftly closed the lid of the pot. After that, Zhua Meiyan became so weak that she almost couldn't stand. Ruan Qingshuang and Bai Xiaoye hurried forward to support her. Using the goo-repellent whistle was not as simple as one might imagine. It required a large amount of internal energy to activate it. This was because ordinary goo pests had no resistance against the goo-repellent whistle. They would be expelled from the body within a few seconds. However, the goo-expelling worm was different from other goo worms. The goo-expelling worm's reproductive ability was too terrifying, so it was impossible to get rid of all of them in a short period of time. It took all of Zhua Meiyan's strength to solve the problem. All the goo-expelling worm was expelled into the pot by Zhua Meiyan. Although this pot was very similar to a pot used to cultivate goo worms, it was definitely not used to cultivate them. This was a pot used to exterminate goo worms. No goo worm could come out alive from this pot. They would all melt into black water. Sister Yen, how are you? Are you all right? Lin Gu asked anxiously. Is this matter resolved? Zhuo Meiyan forced a smile. Don't worry, of course it's resolved. If it hadn't been resolved, I wouldn't have stopped. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when they heard Zhuo Meiyan's words. Mu Baichen's eyes widened as he stared at Zhuo Meiyan in disbelief. Indeed, there was always someone better than you. The goo-expelling worm was so terrifying in his eyes, but Zhuo Meiyan could also neutralize it. She was indeed an expert in the goo arts. Mu Baichen couldn't help but admire her. However, Su Yun hadn't woken up yet. Although everyone was relaxed, they still felt a little uneasy. When will he wake up? Ruan Qingxuang voiced everyone's thoughts. Zhuo Meiyan shook her head. I can't guarantee that. I can only guarantee that all the goo-expelling worms in his body have been removed. I'm afraid he needs some time to recover. Leave the rest to me, Mu Baichen said. I'll help him recover. No. Zhuo Meiyan was very certain. After being poisoned by a goo worm, one can't rely on external forces to recover. What they need is self-recovery. Otherwise, there will be repercussions. Mu Baichen was startled. He finally understood why when he was poisoned by the goo-expelling worm in South Chuan, no one had helped him. They had waited for him to wake up. I understand. Mu Baichen nodded. Right now, he believed Zhuo Meiyan's words without a doubt. Uncle, do you believe me now? Zhuo Meiyan smiled faintly. Mu Baichen said, Not only do I believe you, but I admire you. I'm sincerely convinced. As long as Su Yun was fine, everyone would be fine. Today would be a perfect day. Chapter 28:10. Bai Xiaoye wanted to greet the members of the dock department who were still outside, but found that there were only 2 people left. The others had all left. No matter how she invited them, the 2 didn't have any intention of entering the house. They just stood outside and shook their heads, not saying anything. Bai Xiaoye returned to the room. Uncle, didn't you say that I should prepare beer to reward your brothers? Why did you let them all leave, and those 2 didn't come in? Mu Baichen smiled. These were all just words. Other than him being a special case, the rest of the members of the dock group all followed the rules. The dock department members didn't have any contact with the outside world, and naturally wouldn't drink outside things. Not to mention beer, they even drank the water they brought with them. The food they ate was also compressed food that they brought with them. As long as the food was high in protein and vitamins, as well as other human needs, they could eat it even if it was hard to swallow. The dock department was like this, and outsiders didn't even dare to think about it. If Mu Baichen didn't know that this was Su Yun's house, and that Bai Xiaoye was Su Yun's sister, he wouldn't have let her bring him beer. The dock department had its rules, and all the procedures of the dock department, which could never be broken. Although he occasionally didn't follow the rules, the people below didn't dare to violate the rules at all. Everyone knew what they should do, and everyone knew what they shouldn't do. This was the basic rule of the dock department. As for Mu Baichen daring to do this, it was nothing more than a special approval from above. He was such a person, very unruly, and there were almost no restrictions for him. However, on the issue of principles, Mu Baichen would maintain a very clear attitude. This was why he occasionally didn't follow some harmless rules and wouldn't be punished. After all, the dock department's rapid development over the years couldn't be separated from Mu Baichen's ability. In his own words, he was a person who was suitable to live in the dock department. If he left the dock department, he would lose all meaning of life. And if he left the dock department, there would be very serious adverse reactions. He was a person born for this. I'm afraid only I can enjoy your beer. Mu Baichen said, Those guys don't have the luck. That's because Uncle is strict. Bai Xiaoye smiled. Mu Baichen looked at the beer Bai Xiaoye brought over and shook his head. You guys are on Qingdao, but you don't drink Qingdao beer. You're not giving Qingdao beer any face. These are all gifts from others. Bai Xiaoye said, Nowadays, our people worship foreign goods. Budweiser is an imported product, so it's more expensive, so... These bastards. Mu Baichen said, The American empire is so arrogant now because they have the money to make weapons. It can't be helped. Everyone in the country has the same thought, Bai Xiaoye said. I still support Qingdao beer. Mu Baichen laughed. We can also support Yanjing while we're at it. Otherwise, if we let them monopolize it, beer will be expensive in the future. Bai Xiaoye also smiled bitterly. I feel bad for not supporting our country. After supporting our country grows stronger, but I don't know how to repay the people. There's nothing we can do about it, Zhua Meiyan said. All businessmen do it for money. You get angry when you talk about our country. Lin Gu said, just like Haver. They only got to where they are today because of the support of our people. After they became the leader of the SUV industry, they started to raise the price of their cars. They don't know how to benefit the country and the people. Only by giving more benefits to the people will the people continue to support them. Hua Xia people like to gather. It's like choosing a restaurant. They go wherever there are the most people and don't care about anything else. Su Yun smiled. Yeah, that's called following the trend. Ruan Qingxuang nodded. She was immediately stunned. The others were about to say something, but they were also stunned. All eyes were focused on Su Yun. When did you wake up? Zhua Meiyan's eyes almost popped out. This was too unbelievable. Su Yun's physique was really good. He recovered so quickly. However, this parasite was different from other injuries. No one could understand how he could recover so quickly. The stone that had been hanging in Mu Baichen's heart finally fell down. With a clang, he felt incomparably comfortable. Su Yun was lucky. You almost scared us to death just now, Bai Xiaoye said. Bai Xiaoye quipped, when I saw you collapse, I regretted my confidence in Sister Yen. Xiaoye, what do you mean? Are you still doubting me? Zhua Meiyan asked deliberately. That's not it. I was just worried. What if? Bai Xiaoye chuckled. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when Su Yun woke up. I don't care if you have the confidence to do things in the future, but don't take such risks. Mu Baichen chimed in. I think Last Bai is right. It's better to be safe than sorry. If something happens, there will be no medicine for regret. When they saw Mu Baichen's serious expression, no one could continue joking. Uncle Mu, don't worry. We know what we're doing. Su Yun said, if I wasn't confident, I wouldn't have dared to take the risk. This confidence is estimated in your heart. Mu Baichen said, if you want to live for a few more years, remember my words. Don't do anything stupid. Yes, I understand. Su Yun smiled. It's all my fault. I made Uncle Mu worry. Mu Baichen snorted in disdain. I can't be bothered to worry about you. I'm afraid that if you die in front of me, I won't be able to answer to the chief. Su Yun knew that this kind of tough guy wouldn't say such words. Since you're fine, I'll go back first. Mu Baichen said, I wonder how things are in Beijing. Su Yun said, Uncle Mu, I'll go back with you. The Blood Wolf Gang will be very troublesome. You know that the Blood Wolf Gang is troublesome? Not bad. Mu Baichen smiled. Of course I know. Su Yun nodded. Other than the 7 absolutes, the Blood Wolf Gang still has 9 Qilins. Those 9 people are all stronger than the 7 absolutes. Don't worry about us. Mu Baichen said, don't talk about 9 Qilins. Even if he had 81 Qilins, I wouldn't be afraid. Besides, they're in Beijing. You don't have to worry about anything. Just recover your body. I'm fine now, Su Yun said. These words were a bit forced. After all, this was the bone erosion goo. It wouldn't recover that quickly. In fact, Su Yun could still clearly feel the discomfort. All right, don't talk nonsense. Mu Baichen said, we don't need you for this. Only then did Su Yun have nothing to say. Don't try to be brave. Zhua Meiyan knew the weakness of the goo. She's right. Mu Baichen said, I don't know about other goo, but I know about this bone erosion goo. I know how long it took for me to recover from it. Su Yun nodded. Then Uncle Mu, you must be careful. Help me tell the leader and the others that I'm safe. Don't worry. Mu Baichen said, even if you don't say it, I'll mention it to them. Your task now is to recuperate. Uncle, don't worry. We'll take good care of him. Bai Xiaoye said, there won't be a problem. Mu Baichen naturally believed them. With you guys here, there won't be a problem. I'm sure of that. Of course. Lin Gu said. Mu Baichen glanced at him. You should go check on your injured brother. Su Yun doesn't need you here. He's very lucky. The injured brother Mu Baichen mentioned was obviously Jie Yi. Chapter 28:11. Although Jie Su's situation was bad, it wasn't too serious. Internal injuries were inevitable, and he would be fine after some rest. My situation is much better than Su Yun's. Thank you for your concern. Jie Su was still very respectful towards Mu Baichen. You're good. Not bad. Mu Baichen said to Jie Su, of course, your friends are also good. They're all very good. Jie Su was startled. Mu Baichen actually knew about him, and the friends he mentioned were naturally Chong Mo and the other two. The three of them must have performed very well over there, which was why they attracted the attention of the head of the dock department. But at this moment, Jie Su suddenly couldn't feel happy. He didn't know why, but he just felt a little empty in his heart. To put it bluntly, it was his selfish heart at work. He obviously didn't want Chong Mo and the other two to join the dock department. The dock department was definitely not a good place for Jie Su. Once he joined the dock department, it meant, forget it, he didn't even dare to think about it. Seeing Jie Su's expression, Mu Baichen immediately guessed his thoughts. Don't worry, I didn't poach them into the dock department. It's just that they are very good. Jie Su finally let out a sigh of relief. I know your background. Back then, I was almost sent to deal with your Sky's Eye. Mu Baichen smiled. But luckily I wasn't sent to deal with it. I'm not as meticulous as Su Yun. To be able to turn things into what they are now, I'm a simple and violent person. If I had done it, I wouldn't have met you again today. Ha ha ha. Jie Su laughed awkwardly. If it was Mu Baichen who brought the dock department to deal with them, their skies I wouldn't have been able to resist at all. Because of your special status, it's not suitable for you to be in a place like the dock department. Mu Baichen said. So although I admire your friends, I won't do anything to them. Don't worry. Jie Su said embarrassedly. That's not what I meant. If they're really qualified, and want to do anything, I'll support them. Yo, that's a nice thing to say. Mu Baichen said, if there really comes a day when we can't stop them, don't scold me for not keeping my word today. If that day comes, I hope to join the dock operation with them. Jie Su was serious when he said that. Su Yun laughed and said, Jeshi, do you think the dock department is my security department? Do you think you can enter just because you want to? Without a certain test, it was impossible to enter the dock department. There was no exception at all. Jie Yi laughed dryly. That's right. He didn't have an official status. How could he do whatever he wanted? If you want to enter the dock department, I will consider it. Once Mu Baichen said this, Jie Su was stunned. Even Su Yun was dumbfounded. Was this what Mu Baichen had said? Or did he hear wrongly? Illusion? This was too inconceivable. For Mu Baichen to say such words, it did not seem like he was joking. Why? Even Su Yun was curious. Could it be that there was something special about Jie Su? There's no reason. Mu Baichen said, I just find him pleasing to the eye. If his friends come in and he wants to join, of course I won't refuse. Then there's no need for an identity test? Su Yun laughed. Uncle Mu, the way you do things is really unimaginable. Mu Baichen said, who said there's no need for an identity test? But he has already passed my test. Su Yun was stunned. Jie Su was also stunned. You know that I have the final say in the dark department's identity test. The other departments have no right to interfere. Mu Baichen said, no matter how qualified the other departments are, if they can't pass my test, then they can forget about entering the dark department. But as long as I pass the test, the other departments have no right to say what that person's identity is. This was true. The dark department was a special department. Mu Baichen's personal power in the dark department was very great. Why? Jie Su could not believe it. When the two experts were about to hurt them, you were already injured. You, a person who is already injured, will step forward bravely. Mu Baichen said, just based on this. Jie Su was really shocked. That's how I do things. I believe in the first quality of people I see. Mu Baichen said, now that you're working for Su Yun, you're loyal to Su Yun. Even if you die for the people around him, you won't hesitate. Mu Baichen's words shook everyone's hearts. So of course I'll accept you. Mu Baichen said, the people of the dark department have to do this before they can talk to me about whether or not their strength is enough. Jie Su was a bit excited. Getting such a high evaluation, he should be allowed to have a bit of pride. Don't be happy too early. Mu Baichen said, right now, your strength is still lacking. Jie Su still could not stop his excitement. Strength or not, as long as he got the affirmation, it was enough. You're good. Su Yun joked, you won't be afraid of not being able to find a job in the future. If you don't do well here, I'll fire you. You won't have nowhere to go. Jie Su said, don't, I think being a security guard is pretty good. Then why are you so excited? Su Yun said, it's like you don't have a future here. Mu Baichen laughed. This brat is jealous. Not bad. Seeing that everyone was fine, Mu Baichen was relieved. I think I can go now. Uncle Mu, then I won't keep you here. Su Yun smiled. There are still things in Yanjing. The leader will definitely need you. Mu Baichen nodded. Try not to get involved in the matters of the 7 great families in the future. The waters of these great families are very deep. It will be a long-term problem. I know. Su Yun nodded. Zhang Hong and Zhang Zishue lowered their heads, a bit embarrassed. The two of them were very clear that Su Yun's troubles were brought by them. I don't mean to target you. Mu Baichen said, I just don't want this kid to keep getting into trouble. Uncle, don't worry. As long as I can get in touch with my mother, I will tell her to solve the problems of those great families, Bai Xiaoye said. You're still the sensible one. Mu Baichen said, it's just a matter of a word from your mother. Bai Xiaoye was a bit regretful. I just don't know where my mother went. There's still no news of her. Mu Baichen was suddenly startled. He calculated the time. It had been exactly 25 years since that incident. No wonders Walengyue left for so long. He didn't say anything else. She should be back soon. Bai Xiaoye nodded. You're all young, so energetic. I can't do it at my age. I'm so sleepy. Mu Baichen said, let's go. Everyone sent Mu Baichen out. The 2 men he left behind had already driven the car over. He could sleep all the way to Yanjing once he got in the car. After sending Mu Baichen off, Su Yun and the others all went to rest. The ups and downs of the night were quite big. Everyone felt quite tired. The soul-stirring night slowly passed in silence. How many people in this world couldn't sleep? Chapter 28:12. Blackwater's death seemed to make everything calm again. Without such a person, Zhang Hong and Zhang Zishue didn't have to worry about the future. But thinking about it in reverse, there was still a very big problem. Although this matter was caused by Blackwater, at present, Blackwater just wanted to take revenge on Su Yun. The one who really regarded Zhang Hong and Zhang Zishue as a thorn in their side was the Zhao family. This was more or less a hidden danger for Zhang Hong and Zhang Zishue. But then again, Zhao Zihu had gone through so much trouble this time. He was even willing to invite the Blood Wolf gang, but in the end, he didn't get any results. This was also a warning for him. If he wanted to do something in the future, he was afraid that he had to think carefully about his own strength. At least for the time being, he didn't need to consider the threat of the Zhao family. Zhao Zihu's current mood was quite anxious. He hadn't felt that kind of restlessness for a long, long time. After Blackwater contacted the Blood Wolf gang and got the money from him, he directly disappeared. He searched so many places but couldn't find him, which really made him uneasy. Because of this, Zhao Zihu almost didn't sleep for 3 days. In the end, he couldn't bear it anymore. He asked Little Seven to sneak into Huaxia with the tour group to inquire about the situation. After Little Seven came back and told some things he heard to Zhao Zihu was really stunned. There was no news about Blackwater, but Little Seven inquired about something in Yanjing about the Blood Wolf gang. This matter had caused a stir in the underground world of Huaxia. Many people heard that someone had completely eliminated the 7 invincible of the Blood Wolf gang, and the 5 crazy were all killed by some people in Huaxia. More importantly, Wen Xiaoping, one of the 2,000 slayers of the Blood Wolf gang, was also imprisoned in a special prison and would face extreme punishment. The murder case of 9th brother Dongqing was completely solved. Now, the Blood Wolf gang was like a rat in the sewer, only daring to hide in the dark corners. Xing Pengjing took grayish-white and 9 Qilin, hiding as much as possible. At least, no one found where they were now. Little Seven spent a lot of effort to find out about this matter, but she didn't find any useful clues. As for who had forced the Blood Wolf regiment into such a state, no one knew, but everyone was well aware. Apart from the people from that place, who else had the strength to force the Blood Wolf regiment into such a state? There were some things that no one said and no one knew, but it didn't mean that these people didn't know. After hearing all this, Zhao Zihu's heart was like dead ashes. He didn't know what to do next. Now, he really had to hand it to the Zhang family. They were already in such a state, yet they were still able to persevere until now. They even had the help of a benefactor. The heavens were too unfair. Other than that, he was also afraid that the Zhang family would take revenge on him. Although there were only 2 people left in the Zhang family, Zhao Zihu was still worried. Fortunately, Shao Qi comforted his worries. Young Master Zhao, although those people will stand out when we make a move on the Zhang family, they will definitely not provoke us first. Nothing can be guaranteed. Do you understand? Zhao Zihu said, I have to be on guard. No, they won't. Shao Qi said, according to my understanding and inquiries, those who help the Zhang family are people from some very special departments in Huaxia. They are not idle clouds or wild cranes in the underground world. Zhao Zihu was startled. You mean they have their own rules? Yes, they are all organized and disciplined. Otherwise, it would be impossible to deal with the Blood Wolf regiment so easily. Zhao Zihu nodded. Then I'm clear in my heart. I also understand what's going on, but I still can't calm down. Young Master Zhao, don't think too much. Some things are not that complicated. Shaoqi said, I think you should relax your mind. Okay, I understand. Zhao Zihu smiled. Your words are enough. But we still have to be on guard. You still have to go back and continue to inquire. Once you hear any news that is unfavorable to us, you must inform me immediately. Young Master Zhao, don't worry. Leave this matter to me. I will try my best to find out more about this matter. I will leave tomorrow. Shaoqi said. Zhao Zihu still couldn't calm down. At this time, the only thing he could do was to tuck his tail between his legs. Xing Pengjing's recent days were even more difficult. He never thought that he would provoke the guy who shouldn't be provoked by meddling in this matter. Although the cause of all this was old Jiu of Dongqing, Xing Pengjing didn't think so now. He felt that it was not because of this at all, but because of Blackwater. Even if this matter was because of old Jiu of Dongqing, if Wen Xiaoping didn't take 7 Ju to Guqin Island, this wouldn't have happened. At least now they could still be alive by his side. But now, some were dead, some were injured, and all of them were locked up. Wen Xiaoping would even sentence them to death. No matter how unwilling Xing Pengjing was, he didn't dare to act rashly. He knew too well what it meant to strike a stone with an egg. So now it seemed that Xing Pengjing could only hide. He was like a rat crossing the street. As long as he dared to show his head in Yanjing City, he was very likely to be killed. What made Xing Pengjing even more frightened was that he didn't even have the chance to walk out of Yanjing. Every road in and out of Yanjing had been arranged. No matter what, as long as he wanted to walk out of the gate, he would inevitably be detected. To say the least, even if he walked out, so what? As long as he couldn't walk out of the country, he couldn't escape. This was the most terrible thing. The world was so big, but there was no place for Xing Pengjing to hide. In the end, Xing Pengjing decided that he would rather believe that it was dark under the lamp and take the risk. Living right under the nose of Yanjing City, perhaps no one would be able to find them. It was a pity that Wan Guangxiao also understood the principle of darkness under the lamp. He also knew very well that the people of the Blood Wolf Gang couldn't escape at all. With everything he had deployed now, he would never let the people of the Blood Wolf Gang leave Yanjing City. Now what he had to do was to catch the turtle in the jar. However, this turtle was the most cunning one Wan Guangxiao had ever seen. He didn't give himself away at all. When he knew that they were going to take action, he pushed out the 5 Jew of the Blood Wolf Gang as bait. The current situation had a lot to do with the decision of the Blood Wolf Gang. Originally, Wan Guangxiao didn't want to mobilize the dock department. After all, the 7 Jew had already been taken care of by the dock department. Now he needed a comprehensive search, and he still needed the dock department to help him. Mu Baichen came to Wan Guangxiao's office with a sleepy look. He yawned and pulled a chair to sit down. "Head, what are your orders?" Mu Baichen grabbed Wan Guangxiao's teacup to drink. Wan Guangxiao didn't care. Mu Baichen was already used to it. "What did you do last night? You're so sleepy this early in the morning." Mu Baichen scratched the back of his head. "I trained the newcomers that came a few months ago." "You don't have to be so strict in the future. Although the dock department is special, people are still people. It's impossible to have no feelings," Wan Guangxiao said. Mu Baichen shook his head. "No, absolutely not. The dock department people shouldn't have feelings." "Then you'll keep torturing them?" Wan Guangxiao said. Mu Baichen had a matter-of-fact look. "Otherwise? You're really torturing people like hawks." Wan Guangxiao shook his head. "Hawks are much easier to torment than humans." Mu Baichen naturally continued, "Torturing hawks takes at most 3 days. Torturing people takes at least a month. There's no comparison." Chapter 28:13. Wan Guangxiao wouldn't interfere with what Mu Baichen wanted to do. He smiled. "Arrange for someone else to cook the raw melon eggs first. You still have to come back and help me deal with the Blood Wolf Regiment." "Leader, are those grandsons still hiding?" Mu Baichen was a little surprised. After he dealt with the matter in Qingdao, Wan Guangxiao said that he could deal with the rest. But it had been a few days, and it still hadn't been solved. This was really not Wan Guangxiao's style. Wan Guangxiao nodded. "I didn't expect them to be so good at hiding. It's really unexpected." "Interesting." Mu Baichen's mouth revealed a smile. "They want to play the game of hiding under the light with us. They have guts. But this is Yanjing's land. We are so familiar with it, how can we let them take advantage of us?" Yan, Jin, Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasties all built their capitals in Yanjing. I believe that the Blood Wolf Regiment's understanding of Yanjing is no less than ours," Wan Guangxiao said. Mu Baichen was startled. These words made sense. Perhaps the Blood Wolf Regiment was only familiar with a few places in Huaxia. Chong'an, Luoyang, Nanjing, the ancient capital of the 6 dynasties, and the current Yanjing. Yanjing had been the capital for nearly 1,000 years. During the Spring and Autumn Warring States period, the capital of Yan country was called Ji City. During Liao dynasty, it was a subsidiary capital. Jin, Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasties all built their capitals in Yanjing. At least from the Yuan dynasty until now, the the Blood Wolf Regiment had never left Yanjing. So this Yanjing, they were really very familiar with it. Although the Blood Wolf Regiment's people couldn't be demons that had lived for so long, the experience left behind by the ancestors of the Blood Wolf Regiment was absolutely helpful to them. Especially Xing Pangjing, who wandered the streets picking up scraps at 3 years old. That was the era of famine after the founding of Huaxia. How many people starved to death in those 3 years? What kind of era was that? In any house, all pots and pans were confiscated. Everything was a big pot of public rice. The seemingly beautiful communist society had completely changed because of the corruption and vanity of the cadres, who falsely reported the grain output. Just one sentence from the higher-ups asking for more public rations, and there were people below who couldn't pay up and were forced to death. There were even mothers who bit their fingers and let their babies drink their blood in order to keep them alive. If it weren't for a group of cadres who dared to tell the truth and broke through the heavy resistance to report the real situation to the party central committee, this absurd tragedy would have lasted for a long time. Unfortunately, this group of cadres who really served the people paid a heavy price. Some people who truly deserved to die were still able to sit back and relax. The disaster of the Great Leap Forward was terrifying. It wasn't until the officers in charge of the Great Leap Forward came to the nearby villages that they understood what it meant to be horrifying. Even the weeds and trees had been eaten. The houses had been burned down. The members' belongings had been handed over. They were not allowed to cook and smoke at home. The 4 walls of the house were bare. It was like a pigsty. The able-bodied men had died, leaving behind orphans and widows. It was a tragic sight. There were no beds, no blankets, no stoves, no pots and pans. Even the houses didn't have walls. The fences made of straw couldn't block the cold wind of winter. Everyone was like that. Other than the bowls they ate in the cafeteria, there was nothing else. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything in the cafeteria for them to eat. It wasn't even enough to pay the public rations. Those years of exaggeration, Great Leap Forward, satellite release. Those unrealistic slogans had really hurt too many people. Xing Pangjing was born at that time. His mother's death was the catalyst for his life. He traveled north from Xinjiang, thinking that he would be able to see a different kind of prosperity when he reached Yanjing and that he wouldn't starve to death. But everything disappointed him. From the beginning, people ate grass, tree bark, and soil. Later on, people ate people. He had seen everything along the way. He was in despair. Eyes rotting, legs breaking from running, working non-stop, living and dying. How daring a person was, how much land would produce. How to push the earth with one's feet and hold up the sky with one's hands. How to increase production by several times. At that time, people were hot-headed to the extreme. They said that communism was heaven and the commune was a bridge. The first commune in the country was called the Xingshan Commune, and it was in Xinjiang. Xing Pangjing had escaped death many times on his way to Yanjing. Many times, he had become food in the eyes of others, but he had still managed to escape. He was only a 3-year-old child. Nowadays, 3-year-old children were still sucking on their mother's milk. But at that time, Xing Pangjing already knew what human flesh tasted like. He already understood the principle that if he wanted to live, he couldn't let others kill him. If he wanted to live, he had to kill the people who wanted to kill him in advance. He was only a 3-year-old child. In the eyes of many people, a 3-year-old child wouldn't be guarded against. So Xing Pangjing relied on his age to make people feel relaxed and took care of many people who wanted to hurt him. Just like that, he walked little by little to Yanjing. Just like that, he survived. But so what if he reached Yanjing? He still didn't have any hope of survival. Although there wasn't the desolation of a remote village here, there was still no place for him. Other than being a beggar, what else could he do? Xing Pangjing thought that it would be better to just die. And at that time, he was picked up by the previous Blood Wolf Regiment's Tu Cheng. There was no reason, it was just that he pitied him. Moreover, he could see the killing intent in the eyes of this 3-year-old child, which made the Blood Wolf Regiment feel very interesting. Just like that, Xing Pangjing had a new life. He understood what life was. The Blood Wolf Regiment didn't lack money. They were rich enough to take gold bricks and build houses. No matter what Xing Pangjing wanted, he could get it. There was nothing he couldn't think of, only things he hadn't seen before. Now, he couldn't remember the feeling of eating jerky for the first time. At that time, it was a luxury for him to be able to eat a mouthful of clean tree bark. He couldn't bear to pick up half a rotten steamed bun and kick it in his heart for a few days. It was this kind of situation that made Xing Pangjing who he was today. Xing Pangjing was personally nurtured by the previous Tu Cheng. His strength became stronger and stronger. His bone structure was suitable for martial cultivation, and his character was more suitable to be a member of the Blood Wolf Regiment. Just like that, when Tu Cheng passed away, the new Tu Cheng also had a whole new level of respect for him. From the beginning, he had the idea of nurturing him. That was how Xing Pangjing got to where he was today, step by step. To put it in a vulgar way, Xing Pangjing was really a beggar who picked up gold. So when Xing Pangjing became the new Tu Cheng, he fell into a state of extravagance that couldn't be helped. If it wasn't for his extreme extravagance, the Blood Wolf Regiment wouldn't have been defeated so early. But he was the Tu Cheng. No one dared to do anything to him, and no one dared to say anything to him. The Blood Wolf Regiment was getting worse day by day, but Xing Pangjing was getting more and more extravagant day by day. From begging in the streets when he was 3 years old, to spending money everywhere in Yanjing City. Xing Pangjing's understanding of Yanjing City was seen little by little with his eyes. So he really understood Yanjing City too well, even better than he understood himself. This was the reason why Wan Guangxiao and the others couldn't find Xing Pangjing so easily. None of them knew Yanjing City better than Xing Pangjing. Regarding Xing Pangjing's past and experience, Wan Guangxiao and Mu Baichen didn't know much about it. So they couldn't judge how much Xing Pangjing knew about Yanjing City. But the reality was that Xing Pangjing's understanding of Yanjing City was definitely beyond Wan Guangxiao and Mu Baichen's imagination. Chapter 28:14. At the moment, Xing Pangjing had the upper hand. Although Wan Guangxiao's attack had made Xing Pangjing feel very uncomfortable, Xing Pangjing still had the upper hand. In order to protect himself, Xing Pangjing had even sacrificed the lives of Zhetian, Quan Xiong, Chuang Gu, Tian Fu, and Yen Yu. Although Hui Bai and Jiu Dao Qilin still had lingering fears, they had no other choice but to follow Xing Pangjing. If they had to find another way to leave, they could only follow the branch Li San Hua. However, no one dared to say such words. Right now, Xing Pangjing was still in control of the Blood Wolf group. Moreover, he had the strength to punish them. Unless the 10 of them worked together, it was impossible to escape from Xing Pangjing's punishment. Unfortunately, the Blood Wolf pack had never been truly united. It seemed to be their tradition to be united on the surface but not on the inside. After all, each of them was an individual. They had joined the Blood Wolf pack because of their personal interests. Some of them had too many enemies outside and could not survive. Some of them were greedy for a comfortable life. There were all kinds of people, and every time a city was massacred, it was extremely cruel. Except for Xing Pangjing. He was an exception. He had been nurtured by the Blood Wolf pack and was different from the others. Therefore, he had not experienced too many difficulties when he had taken the massacre battle position. The more this was the case, the more unconvinced people were. If it had been for their lack of strength, they would have rebelled against Xing Pangjing long ago. Fortunately, Wen Xiaoping and Hui Bai were still very loyal to Xing Pangjing. Unfortunately, at this critical moment, Wen Xiaoping, as he thought about this, Xing Pangjing felt waves of anger rise in his heart. Right now, Xing Pangjing was most worried about Jiu Dao Lin's thoughts. These 9 people were very important to him. Although they were still considered safe at the moment, Xing Pangjing knew very well that he would not be able to hide any longer sooner or later. When that time came, if no one was willing to risk their lives for him, all of this would be troublesome. Among the Jiu Dao Qilin, there were only 3 people that Xing Pangjing was most assured about: Suyun, Shui Yen, and Duo Xing. As for Dao Xiao, Wan Tun, Yun Sai, Di Jie, Tao Zun, and Rui Ku, the 6 of them really weren't loyal enough to Xing Pangjing. Although everyone seemed to be doing their best on the surface, Xing Pangjing was not stupid after all. They were more or less two-faced, and Xing Pangjing had seen it all. Therefore, for Xing Pangjing, all of this was something he needed to consider. Once the real danger came, Xing Pangjing needed these people to fight with their lives. Otherwise, how could he fight against the enemy? Xing Pangjing knew all too well what kind of organization it was to be able to arrange so many experts at once. Unfortunately, in order to temporarily protect himself, he had thrown away 5 Madness's life, just like a lowly stray dog that had lost 5 lives. All of this was seen by the others. It wasn't just Dao Xiao, Wan Tun, Yun Sai, Di Jie, Tao Zun, and Rui Ku who were worried. Even Si Yun, Shui Yen, and companion Xing were worried. Xing Pangjing wasn't the only one who felt this. Ashen felt it as well. Tu Cheng, there are some things I don't know if I should say. Ashen stood behind Xing Pangjing. It had been many days since they left that luxurious villa in Yanjing City. Xing Pangjing frowned. In this place where even sandalwood couldn't be burned, he felt very tired. I know what you want to say. Xing Pangjing said, I understand. Tu Cheng, some things are more troublesome than we thought. Ashen said. Xing Pangjing closed his eyes. If anyone dares to go against me, I'll let them know the consequences of betrayal. This kind of method doesn't solve the root of the problem. Ashen said, moreover, the current situation. I don't care what the current situation is. Xing Pangjing said, what are the rules of the Blood Wolf Pack's ancestors? If anyone dares to act recklessly, there will only be one result. Death. Ashen fell silent. Xing Pangjing was harder to convince than he thought. I know what you're thinking. Xing Pangjing said, you want me to appease them and explain to them about 5 Madness, but I won't do that. Why? Ashen said. Xing Pangjing turned to look at Ashen. Do you want me to explain as well? No, of course not. Ashen said, Tu Cheng, I just want to say that not everyone thinks the same as me. That's their problem, not mine. Xing Pangjing said, if I explain now, do you know what I'll face? They'll think that I have to ask them for help. This will only make them even more unscrupulous about how important they are. Tu Cheng, they're really important now, really. Ashen said. Xing Pangjing stared at Ashen without saying a word. After a long time, Ashen could only sigh helplessly. He knew that Xing Pangjing had already made up his mind. He wouldn't admit to anything that was wrong with him. I don't know why it's like this, but I really want to say, if you can treat them as brothers, then it's good to comfort them. Ashen said dejectedly. Xing Pangjing said word by word, they're subordinates, not brothers. In the Blood Wolf Regiment, there's no such thing as brothers. Subordinates have to obey my orders. Subordinates have to be loyal to me until death. When Xing Pangjing said this, he didn't consider one thing. That was that the era had changed. The changes in the past few years were too great. Xing Pangjing himself should be very clear. When he was born, people ate wild vegetables, tree barks, guanine clay, and cannibalism. But now, who still knew what guanine clay was? Who still dared to eat tree barks? Of course, wild vegetables had become a rare thing. In star hotels, there would often be a group of fat capitalists who would pay a high price to eat those rare wild vegetables. Little did they know that these wild vegetables had become a rare thing because they were almost eaten to extinction in those years. In addition to the harsh environment now, it was difficult for wild vegetables to survive. Rare things were precious. In that era, the hierarchy of the Blood Wolf Regiment was still very strict. Therefore, in the feudal society, the hierarchy would be even stricter. But it was different now. In today's society, some things were indeed diluted. Other than those in the government who would still treat hierarchy as something important, the lower-level enterprises, especially the private enterprises, had already diluted this kind of hierarchy. No one would be submissive just because someone was 1 or half a level higher than them. It could even be said that many young people with character would directly fall out with the boss. At worst, they would just fire the boss. These things were very normal, too normal. Therefore, even in the Blood Wolf Regiment, the strict hierarchy was a thing of the past. Everyone still respected him because of his strength. After all, the underground world was particular about the law of the jungle. But for them to be loyal to that extent, it was probably a distant past. Tu Cheng, I've said what I need to say. I hope you can consider it carefully. Ash White said. Xing Pangjing waved his hand impatiently. I know. Go do your thing. If there's nothing else, don't disturb me. I'm very annoyed now. I don't want to be bothered by these trivial things. Yes. Ash White turned and left. He had an intuition in his heart. His intuition told him that the Blood Wolf Regiment might have really come to an end. Facing such a situation, he really felt some heartache. But some things were really out of his control. Chapter 28:15. The Blood Wolf Regiment was not the only one who had a headache trying to control the situation. The Dragon Brigade was also helpless. Leader, if there's anything you need, just tell me. Mu Baichen said. There are some things that might be easier for my people to do. Wan Guangxiao said, I can only cast the net a little wider. In the end, I'll still be able to find out some things. I've already arranged for all the people I can. I understand. Mu Baichen said. Don't worry, leave it to me. Then I'll put you in charge of the Sanlitun area at the Workers' Stadium. The people there are messy, so it'll be more difficult. Wan Guangxiao said. Tell your people to be more careful. Mu Baichen was startled. Leader, what's there to investigate at the Workers' Stadium? I'm not a paparazzi. I'll only be able to find out some news about celebrities. What else can there be? Foreigners getting rich girls drunk and bringing them to the Asia Hotel, that's not something I can control. It's all a matter of willingness. What are you talking about? Wan Guangxiao said. Even if there's such an uncivilized phenomenon, it's just the girls falling into depravity. It has nothing to do with you. Then why do you want me to go there? Mu Baichen said. Other than these things, what else is there? Other than the rich girls, there are all kinds of people in a high-cost entertainment gathering place. Wan Guangxiao said, there must be a lot of people who are alert and observant. These people are all people who are familiar with the underground world. We might be able to hear some news from them. Mu Baichen did not know whether to laugh or cry. Leader, this is too troublesome. Then do you have a better idea? Wan Guangxiao said. The Blood Wolf Regiment's people are all hiding in the rat hole. This is the most reliable method I can use now. If the net was big, there would naturally be gains. This was the same as fishing in the sea. Even if there were no fish in the sea, as long as the net was big enough, there would more or less be something to catch. Casting the net wide was Wan Guangxiao's only feasible method now. Mu Baichen shook his head. If I had a way, I would have taken it out long ago. Since there isn't, then do as I say. Wan Guangxiao said, pay attention to anything suspicious. From the day Wan Guangxiao began to investigate the Blood Wolf Regiment, he had already learned all the information about Xing Pangjing. This guy really didn't keep a low profile. Perhaps all the gold-digging girls in the Chaoyang district knew that Xing Pangjing was a big rich man who often liked to play in the workers' sports complex. What made Xing Pangjing famous was not his ability to spend money. Although he was extravagant, in a place like Beijing where there were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers, there were many people who were more prodigal than him. The thing that made Xing Pangjing famous in the circle of materialistic girls was that he did not have the ability to do that. This was also the reason why Xing Pangjing was rumored to be a psychopath. Even if he found 100 young models to strip naked in front of him, he still wouldn't be able to make himself look like a man. This was not a secret in the circle. Xing Pangjing had never done it before, but every time he couldn't show off his masculinity, he would fly into a rage. Many of his subordinates had their jaws crooked and their noses collapsed after being slapped by him. But even so, he never lacked women around him. It was because of money. This matter was too simple. Why Xing Pangjing couldn't do it? Wan Guangxiao was very clear on this point. Although the forbidden technique of the warding evil manual was powerful, but after practicing it, the people of his generation were very clear about the side effects. These things were not unfamiliar to Wan Guangxiao. Over the years, he had seen many people walk the unorthodox path in order to pursue higher power. The Blood Wolf Regiment's warding evil manual clearly belonged to the unorthodox path. But this thing had always been in the possession of the Blood Wolf Regiment. Outsiders didn't know what the side effects would be after practicing it. In the eyes of many people, this was just an internal strength cultivation secret manual that would make people improve their martial arts. Because the side effects of the warding evil manual wouldn't be seen by others, only they knew about their own difficulties. In this world, there weren't many people who knew about the side effects of the warding evil manual. Leader, for people of my age, there's definitely no problem with mental strength, but I also have 30-year-old men who are like wolves and tigers. Mu Baichen said, letting them go to a place like the workers' stadium filled with long legs and thin silk, it's really hard for them. Mistakes of principle can't be made. You must keep a close eye on them. Wan Guangxiao said, if anyone causes trouble in that place, don't blame me for the punishment. My people know discipline. Leader, you can rest assured. Mu Baichen smiled and took another sip of tea. Su Yun also wanted to participate in this matter. After he was rejected by me, did he look for you? Wan Guangxiao was startled, then said with a faint smile, you rejected him, would he still dare to mention this matter to me? Why wouldn't he dare? Mu Baichen said, that kid is very similar to me when I was young. I really don't know what he doesn't dare to do. Someone as casual as you rejected him, what do you think he can gain from coming to me? Wan Guangxiao said, he's clear in his heart, he won't ask for trouble. Mu Baichen was speechless. It seems like he's quite obedient. Obedient my ass. Wan Guangxiao said, if he was really that obedient, that year, he wouldn't have been. I really support him on that matter. Mu Baichen didn't wait for Wan Guangxiao to finish and directly cut him off. If it was me at that time, I would have done the same. Maybe I would have been even more ruthless than that kid. Wan Guangxiao glared at Mu Baichen. I think you're just here to watch the show. This isn't a matter of watching the show. Mu Baichen said, this is also a matter of principle. Leader, if you were to return to your youth, you would have done the same. Wan Guangxiao was startled. Maybe that was really the case. Different positions, different things to consider. Mu Baichen said, you can't use your state to determine that what he did was wrong, and he can't use his state to understand your way of dealing with it. All right, I didn't ask you to come here to educate me. Wan Guangxiao said, hurry up and go back to prepare, let your people move. Mu Baichen nodded, then leader will have to give me more funds. Our dark department's money is barely enough to train and eat, we can't afford to go to that place to drink. Wan Guangxiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Don't worry, I've already prepared everything for you, but don't get slaughtered. If there's someone who cheats, I'll light his cannon. Mu Baichen said, I'll see what kind of explosion it will cause. You're already this old, don't make me worry. Wan Guangxiao knew that this guy always liked to exaggerate, but if someone really pissed him off, he really dared to do it. Mu Baichen wouldn't be bullied. Then I'll go back first, and prepare to deal with it immediately. Mu Baichen said and stood up. I'll report to you as soon as there's news. Go. Wan Guangxiao said. Mu Baichen was about to walk to the door when he turned back. Leader, this tea is really good. What kind of tea is it? Do you feel bad going back empty-handed? Wan Guangxiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he took out a box of tea and threw it to Mu Baichen. Next time, if you come empty-handed, I won't let you in. Mu Baichen laughed and ran out. I don't have anything good to give leader. Chapter 28:16. The sky was already dark, and Yanjing's nightlife had officially begun. Luxury cars were everywhere around the workers' stadium. Shadow and Dark Knight didn't think that Mu Baichen would personally come out. Normally, He would just leave these small matters to his subordinates. But he was very interested in Xing Pangjing of the Blood Wolf Regiment. The people of the Blood Wolf Regiment had always been very mysterious. This had unknowingly aroused Mu Baichun's curiosity. This curiosity made Mu Baichun want to personally meet Xing Pangjing. Of course, other than Xing Pangjing, he had no interest in anyone else. What 1,000/, what 9 qilin, he really didn't put them in his eyes. Last time on Guqin Island, Wan Xiaoping was also one of the 1,000/. Mu Baichun didn't even think about making a move. He really didn't put those people in his eyes. At first, he also didn't put Xing Pangjing in his eyes. But after returning to Yanjing from Guqin Island, the result made him very surprised. Wan Guangxiao couldn't even catch him in one go. Xing Pangjing actually used 5 of his subordinates as bait to lure Wan Guangxiao away while he himself disappeared without a trace. This person was ruthless enough, decisive enough, and resolute enough to do things. This attracted Mu Baichun's attention. But before Wan Guangxiao gave the order, he wouldn't take the initiative to volunteer. He was worried that it would hurt Wan Guangxiao's face. After all, this matter made Wan Guangxiao very angry. The world was unpredictable, and there was no way to be sure. From that time on, Mu Baichun wanted to meet this Xing Pangjing. To have the ability to use bait to escape, he definitely wasn't a simple person. To a certain extent, Mu Baichun was also the type of martial arts fanatic. So a well-matched opponent was very tempting for him. Mu Baichun, who had never been in this kind of place, was clearly not used to it. Seeing the seductive girls in the bar, he could only sigh. After being led to a table, Mu Baichun looked at the drink list and shook his head. "I'm afraid my month's salary isn't even enough to spend here once. Take a look and see what you want to drink. Let's have this 1288 set meal," Shadow said after looking at the drinks list. To them, coming out here was a mission, not a place to spend money and have fun. Although the money could be reimbursed, it could not be spent casually. They were people from the State Special Department, not those public institutions, state-owned enterprises, or private enterprises. Spending public funds was still very distressing for them. After all, the daily training fees were already high enough. "Sirs, there is a minimum cost for this private room." As soon as these words came out, Shadow's face was a little embarrassed, and Dark Knight was also obviously startled. The people of the Dark Group didn't have the opportunity to come to this kind of place to spend money, so no one knew the price. Then how much is the minimum cost? Mu Baichun had his own authority after all. At this time, he didn't want his brother to feel awkward. "The lowest price for a seat here is 3,988 yuan. The receptionist said disdainfully, "If you don't mind, please go to the booth over there. Booth 1588 is enough. If you still don't think it's suitable, then let's go to the individual seats. The individual seats are. Then we'll go according to your minimum cost." Mu Baichun didn't wait for this snobbish guy to finish speaking. The receptionist immediately recommended a set meal, a bottle of Martell, a bottle of Ballantine, and some soft drinks and snacks. This price was really good. 2 bottles of wine for 4,000 yuan? Dark Knight clearly felt that he was being ripped off. He thought that this guy saw that they hadn't been here before and wasn't familiar with them, so he wanted to rip them off. However, the receptionist's face darkened. "Sirs, if you don't have money, then don't come to this kind of place to spend money. We're not a low-end place like Ho Hai, we're a high-class place. The minimum cost is a set meal, and this private room even has a princess. I feel that with your level of spending, you can't afford it, so... Who are you pretending with?" A palm suddenly pressed down on the receptionist's head, twisting his head around. The receptionist wanted to turn around and glare, but he saw a familiar face. His face immediately looked like a slave. Young Master Fu, you're here." This young man wasn't anyone else, but the little brother that Su Yun knew who loved Ferrari, Fu Tian. Fu Tian was no longer the little rascal who loved to drink and play, but sometimes when he needed to discuss matters, he would still come to these nightclubs to spend money. Today, he had a client who wanted to meet him. He called Huang Xiaohan to accompany him, and they came half an hour early. They were in a private room not far away. Huang Xiaohan's eyes were sharp, and he saw Mu Baichen's shoes. There was a logo on the shoes, and they were all too familiar with this logo. When they first met Su Yun's shoes also had this logo. Because of Fu Tian's worship of Su Yun, he specially wanted to search for shoes with this logo, but he couldn't find it. At that time, Fu Tian had mobilized everyone to search, so Huang Xiaohan had a deep impression of this logo. Later, they found out that Su Yun was from a special department, and only people from his place would have these shoes. So today, when Huang Xiaohan saw the shoes on Mu Baichen's feet, he immediately told Fu Tian. After Fu Tian identified it, he realized that this was definitely someone from Brother Yun's place. And at this time, he saw the receptionist acting cool for them. When he walked closer and heard these words, he was immediately enraged. Fu Tian's sudden appearance clearly made Mu Baichen and the other two a little surprised. But this young man's face seemed to be very big, and the receptionist's fawning attitude towards him really made people laugh. Shivas 21, what soft drinks and snacks, prepare for me. Fu Tian said angrily, do you know who this is? These are my honored guests. Open your dog eyes and see clearly. Yes, yes, yes. The receptionist kept nodding. Prepare it immediately. Put it on my tab. Fu Tian said and ignored the receptionist. The receptionist immediately retreated to prepare the drinks. Mu Baichen looked at Fu Tian and smiled. I don't deserve it. Friend, we don't seem to know each other. Hello, I'm Fu Tian. Fu Tian introduced himself. Although we don't know each other, I'm sure you know one of my brothers. As long as you know my brother, I'll treat you well. Mu Baichen was even more puzzled. Maybe you've got the wrong person, your brother is? Su Yun. Fu Tian whispered to Mu Baichen. Mu Baichen's face changed. This guy actually knew Su Yun. This wasn't what he was surprised about. He was surprised that this guy could tell that he knew Su Yun. How could their identity as a member of the Dark Department be seen through so easily? How did you know? Dark Knight's face also changed, immediately standing up. Huang Xiaohan saw this and quickly explained, the three of you don't misunderstand, we just saw that your shoes were the same as the shoes our brother Yun wore, so... Mu Baichen suddenly realized, although they had changed their clothes, their shoes were the same. He really didn't think that under the lighting of the bar, there would still be people who noticed these things. We didn't mean to disturb you, we just thought that since my brother Yun is familiar with you, I must treat you well. Fu Tian said, I know you aren't ordinary people, sorry to disturb you. Ha ha ha. Mu Baichen laughed, he saw the sincerity in Fu Tian's eyes. Su Yun, that brat wants to call me uncle, then I won't be polite with you. Fu Tian heaved a sigh of relief. Uncle. If there's anything you need me to do, just tell me, I'm very familiar with their boss. You're too polite. Mu Baichen said, since your relationship with Su Yun is so close, I won't treat you as an outsider, thank you for the drinks today. It's what I should do. Fu Tian said, Uncle, if there's nothing else, I'll go first. I have an appointment with a client to discuss some business matters. If there's a chance, I'll treat the three of you. Mu Baichen nodded. He really didn't think that Su Yun's connections were so wide. Fu Tian left satisfied. Mu Baichen also appreciated this kind of straightforward person. From Fu Tian's clothes and watch, it could be seen that he was definitely a young man with financial strength. Mu Baichen's personality wasn't pretentious, he didn't say much. Chapter 28:17. Fu Tian's bottles of wine were worth tens of thousands of dollars. For a rich man like him, it really didn't matter. The people in the bar also knew what kind of person Fu Tian was. After all, the record for the highest spending in a single night was set by Fu Tian. At that time, Fu Tian was very domineering, getting a young model to lie down, inviting hundreds of people, burning hundreds of thousands in one night. Now, Fu Tian was much more low-key. If it wasn't for standing up for Mu Baichen, he might have kept his head down so that people wouldn't recognize him. Fu Tian went back to continue waiting for the clients he wanted to meet, while Mu Baichen had already had a waiter bring soft drinks and snacks to the table. At the same time, there were 6 girls, each more seductive than the other. And the dark unit people who had almost no understanding of women really couldn't stand this kind of situation. "It's an uncle," the leading girl called out in a coquettish voice as she squeezed in and sat directly beside Mu Baichen. Mu Baichen was startled for a moment, then shrugged his shoulders, expressing his helplessness to the Dark Shadow and Dark Knight. He had never been to this kind of place before. How would he know what to do? The Dark Shadow and Dark Knight were also instantly surrounded by the girls. The 3 of them were a little stunned by this sudden test. Of course, their principles made them immediately have the impulse to reject all the charms. But before the Dark Shadow and Dark Knight could react, Mu Baichen gave them a look, making them quiet down. They came out for a mission. If they couldn't even handle this kind of situation, then wouldn't it be too eye-catching? If they wanted to blend in and get some information, they had to be like the people here. Coming out to play meant that they had to be in the mood to play. It wouldn't do to let people see that they were a first-time deer. So what they had to do today was to block soldiers with arms and water with an earth weir. No matter what kind of situation they were facing, they had to adjust their mentality to a situation that they had never encountered before. Since they were here, they had to deal with it no matter what the situation was. They couldn't let the people around see them as a joke. After the Dark Shadow and Dark Knight received Mu Baichen's instructions, they all quieted down. "How do you want to drink? Come, ladies, pour the wine." Mu Baichen had gotten into character very quickly. Shadow and Dark Knight couldn't help but admire him. The 3 of them quickly became familiar with the rhythm of the drinking princess. Wasn't it just a drinking game? It wasn't a difficult task for them. What little bee, bang bang chicken, they all knew how to play. What kind of people were wandering in the Zhonghu? They could also deal with turtles and turtles. But later on, when they wanted to use the Absorbing Star's great skill, the people of the Dark Department would feel a little uncomfortable. Men and women sat in a circle. One person began to suck a card with his mouth and then passed it clockwise to the next person, and so on. If a card was lost to anyone, they would be punished with drinking. In fact, this game was deliberately played by the hostess in order to let the guests drink more wine. If the customers were drinking cheap wine, they wouldn't bother to play. They wouldn't earn much commission from a bottle of wine. But if the customers ordered good wine, it was different. They liked to play this game because most customers would deliberately lose their cards because they wanted to kiss them. But if they lost their cards, they would have to drink. So if they wanted to make a bargain, they would have to drink. If they ordered a bottle of wine that was worth thousands or tens of thousands, it would be finished in 3 rounds. The commission came too quickly. It was just kissing, wasn't it worth it? But it was a pity that today, these princesses really knew their place. These 3 bosses were too serious in playing the game. Not a single one of them deliberately lost their cards to kiss them. Each of them played so seriously that they didn't want to lose at all. When the hostess saw that they couldn't play anymore, they could only deliberately lose their cards and drink. This made the 3 of them feel very awkward. After playing a few rounds, they asked to change games. There were more and more people in the bar. This place had a bit of reputation in Yanjing City. Everyone knew that the boss's face was big enough. It could be said that he was a master who ate from both the black and white sides. So at night, there were a lot of people from the underground world who came to his place to have fun. Because no matter what happened here, there would be people who could settle it. A person's power was often expressed in a very wide range. So no matter if the drinks here were more expensive than other places, or if the consumption was higher than other places, there would always be people coming in. Of course, there had never been any big names here. It seemed that every type of person had a place that they liked to go to. This was a very normal phenomenon. Shadow and Dark Knight were very clear on their mission. Using the time of dancing or going to the bathroom, they constantly eavesdropped on the conversations of the people around them. And Mu Baichen looked like he didn't care at all, but in reality, he never stopped moving. His eagle eyes could almost see through the mouths of everyone in the bar. Through the translation of the lips, he could obtain the information that was coming out of anyone's mouth. But it was a pity that all the information they could obtain was useless. The things that they wanted to know, they couldn't find anything in this place. But even so, there was still one person that Mu Bai-chen had his eyes on. There was a person who was drinking by himself. He didn't chat with anyone, nor did he strike up a conversation with any girls. He seemed to have a goal. Like them, this guy was also paying attention to everyone present. And his face also revealed a look of disappointment. Just who was this guy? Mu Bai-chen's curiosity was immediately piqued. He had to get to the bottom of this matter, otherwise he wouldn't let it go. Have you noticed that side? Mu Bai-chen said with a faint smile. Shadow and Dark Knight nodded. That's today's target. Mu Bai-chen said. Uncle, which target have you taken a fancy to? Do you want me to help you? The flirtatious princess stuck to Mu Bai-chen and said, Uncle, why don't you take a fancy to me? If you like me, I can go with you. Mu Bai-chen was stunned. Go with me? Go where? Annoying uncle, of course you can choose the hotel. The drinking princess smiled as she stuck out her chest. Her cleavage was mesmerizing and captivating. Mu Bai-chen suddenly realized, this was going to happen. Do you think my age is suitable? Girl, I'm about the same age as your dad. Does uncle want to play a role? The drinking princess stuck out her tongue. As long as you're willing, I can play anything. Mu Bai-chen really couldn't accept this. He really didn't know what was wrong with girls these days. In order to earn some money, they were willing to do anything. He really didn't know how sad their parents would be if they knew about this. I'm not interested in this. Mu Bai-chen waved his hand. Seeing that the three of them were preparing to leave, the drinking princesses were at a loss. It was only halfway through the night. If the guests left at this time, it was clearly a signal that they didn't accompany them well enough. The manager saw this and came over. After all, they were young Master Fu's guests. He didn't dare to be disrespectful. Three brothers, are you having fun? The manager went up and greeted them. Fu Tian, who was talking to a client not far away, saw the situation and apologized before walking over. He knew what the bar manager was thinking, and he also knew that Big Brother Yun definitely wasn't out to play. He had something to do, so he stepped forward to help them out. Manager D, you do what you need to do. I'll take care of my friend here. Fu Tian smiled and waved for the manager to leave. Thank you for today. Mu Bai-chen smiled knowingly at Yun Tian. Su Yun, this little brat has good taste in making friends. Fu Tian was happy to hear this. I know you have things to do, so I won't be so polite. Brother Yun's friend is my friend. If you have something to say, just say it. I want to take that kid away. I'll have to trouble you to tell the manager not to be a busybody. Mu Bai-chen looked at the person at the table. Fu Tian glanced over and nodded knowingly. He made an okay gesture. Mu Bai-chen and the others walked over. Fu Tian also walked directly to the manager of the nightclub. Chapter 28:18. The suspicious target that Mu Bai-chen had his eyes on was none other than Xiao Qi, who had just rushed to China from afar. Zhao Zihu let Xiao Qi come this time because he wanted to find out more about the Blood Wolf group. Xiao Qi came to this bar after asking around. If he didn't hear that it was easier to get information in this bar, he wouldn't have come here. Now, not only did he fail to obtain any useful information, he was even targeted by someone. Little Seven had also noticed Mu Bai-chen and the other two earlier, but the three of them were playing a game of star-sucking great technique with the princess. No matter how she looked at it, they looked like a few old hooligans who were out looking for girls to open a room and play with fire. Who would have thought that they came here for a purpose? When Xiao Qi was surrounded by Mu Bai-chen and the other two, his face changed. It happened so suddenly that it was completely out of his expectations. Brother, this is not a place to cause trouble. You should come out with me to talk. Mu Bai-chen said indifferently and grabbed Xiao Qi's arm. Xiao Qi was not the kind of person who would just take it lying down. He immediately wanted to resist, but Mu Bai-chen's strong pressure could easily crush his bones. Xiao Qi suddenly realized that he had met an expert today. It was better not to act rashly. Kid, I don't have any other intentions. I just want to talk with you. Mu Baichen said, if you don't know what's good for you, then don't blame me. Xiao Qi had no choice but to slowly get up and walk out with Mu Baichen. After walking out of the bar, Mu Baichen pushed Xiao Qi into their car. Shadow directly controlled him from behind. The dagger in his hand was already at Xiao Qi's throat. What are you doing? Xiao Qi kept calm and said, we don't even know each other. Why are you doing this? Why are you acting innocent with me? If I didn't see anything from you, would I make a move on you? Mu Baichen said, let's be frank. Who ordered you to come? What does this have to do with you? Xiao Qi said, I just came out for a drink. What does it have to do with you? Who are you people? We're here to take care of people like you. Shadow said, kid, you'd better show some respect. Otherwise, don't blame me for hitting you. Xiao Qi snorted, Huaxia is a lawful society. You can't escape punishment even if you hit someone. This daddy is the punishment. Mu Baichen scolded. If you want to play this game, then I'll play with you slowly. Who are you people? Little Seven questioned. Mu Baichen stared into his eyes. Now is not the time for you to question me. I am the interrogator and you are my captive. Understand? Little Seven snorted in disdain. Mu Baichen signaled with his eyes and Dark Knight punched Little Seven in the chest. This punch was so powerful that his eyes turned red on the spot. What a powerful force. Mu Baichen raised his hand to signal Dark Knight to stop. Brat, while I still have patience, say what you need to say. Who? I don't know. What you want me to say? Little Seven endured the pain. What should I say? Mu Baichen ignored him and signaled with his eyes again. Dark Knight's fist once again landed on Little Seven's stomach. This time, his internal organs were all in different positions. He was in so much pain that he was sweating profusely. With a cry, he almost spat out all the wine he had just drunk. Is it not enough? If it's not enough, then we'll continue. Mu Baichen faintly smiled. Little Seven's breathing was ragged. You. What do you mean? I really don't understand. You. What do you want me to say? Ku. Give me a clear answer. Ku. Blood Wolf Regiment. Mu Baichen threw out these 3 words. Little Seven's face immediately changed, turning pale. You're the Blood Wolf Regiment. Hearing this fellow's reaction, Shadow and Dark Knight were slightly stunned. Mu Baichen's reaction was very fast, immediately following up, that's right, I'm the Blood Wolf Regiment's current leader, Xing Pangjing. Just who are you? Little Seven's expression was a little excited. We're on the same side. I've been looking for you for a long time. Shadow's 2 punches just now had hit him so hard that he was still coughing. Hearing that he was on the same side, Mu Baichen found it interesting. What do you mean? Who's on the same side as you? Blackwater. Blackwater and I are on the same side. Little Seven quickly said, Tu Cheng. We're on the same side, really on the same side. Mu Baichen understood. This fellow and Blackwater were on the same side. That meant he was from the Zhao clan in the 7-star Radiance. If you said you were on the same side earlier, why did you have to suffer so much? Mu Baichen said, if you were still holding on, you might have been beaten to death by us. If I knew you were the Blood Wolf Regiment's Tu Cheng, I would have spoken long ago. Little Seven said, I heard something happened to the Blood Wolf Regiment, so I came to take a look. Tu Cheng, you're so open and above board, aren't you? Worried. What am I worried about? Mu Baichen said, what kind of position does the Blood Wolf Regiment have in Yanjing? You go and find out for yourself. What do I have to worry about? Little Seven exclaimed. Could it be that she was wrong before? Tu Cheng, where's Blackwater? Little Seven said, He ran away after encountering a little danger. Mu Baichen said, "You found the wrong partner." Little Seven's heart exploded. If she knew this black water was so unreliable, she would not have cooperated with him. Tu Cheng, then do we still continue our cooperation? Continue. Okay, then we'll see what the price is. Mu Baichen acted very well. If they could get some money from the Zhao clan in the 7-star Radiance as future funds, it would be pretty good. Anyway, the money from these big clans was not that clean, so it didn't matter if they cheated a little. The money has already been paid. The 1 billion has already been transferred to Blackwater. He has already negotiated with you. Little Seven said. Blackwater did not pay, he already took the money away. Mu Baichen spouted nonsense. That is not a mistake that we should take responsibility for. You trusted the wrong person. Little Seven's head buzzed when he heard that. The money was gone. Blackwater took it away. Blackwater was already dead. Mu Baichen could just frame him. There was no way to investigate, no way to get evidence. Even if they suspected that the Blood Wolf group wanted to cheat them of their money, what could they do? There was nothing they could do. If you have money, then cooperate. If you don't have money, then don't talk nonsense with me. Mu Baichen waved his hand. I don't have time to play with you now. Little Seven suddenly realized, why do you say you are the Blood Wolf group's Tu Cheng? Based on strength. Mu Baichen stared at Little Seven disapprovingly, as if warning him. If he still had doubts, he would let him have a taste of what strength he had. Little Seven took a deep breath. Did he still dare to doubt? Even if this Tu Cheng in front of him did not make a move, just 2 punches from the people beside him was enough to make him unable to take it. Then what do you want to do? Little Seven said. Mu Baichen snorted. You are from the Zhao family, right? Because of you, my Blood Wolf regiment has suffered heavy losses. You'd better figure this out. Moreover, we did not get the money. How do you want to settle this? Losing soldiers is your problem. This has nothing to do with us, right? Little Seven said. Then what about the money? Does the money have anything to do with you? Mu Baichen said. Little Seven gathered his courage and said, Money? This matter has not been resolved. You not getting the money is not a problem, right? Mu Baichen laughed a few times. Kid, you have guts. If this matter had been resolved, we would have thought of a way to make up for the money. But this matter has not been resolved. You still have the nerve to talk to us about money? Little Seven gritted his teeth. Mu Baichen grabbed Little Seven's collar. Are you mocking me or laughing at me? Or, do you not want to go back alive today? I want to talk about a way to make up for it. It's cooperation. Little Seven said in a panic. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.